Chapter 256 He's moving. Jonah's face turned pale. He stuttered, pointing at Michael's body. Everyone, including Johnny and Maria, turned back to see Michael's charred body slowly starting to float from the ground. They couldn't believe their own eyes. What in the hell? Maria took a step back, due to the subconscious fear in her mind. Visible to the naked eye, his burnt skin on the arm, neck, and face healed. His body slowly rose up in the air. The black eyes soon transformed into crimson-red eyes. They were staring at him in utter shock. Jonah's body shivered like he was standing outside naked in the wintertime. His transformation did not stop with crimson-red eyes, but the burnt clothes were slowly vanishing into thin air, while pieces of black armor started to cover his body from toe to neck. The armor looked like a breed between leather and metal. Up to his neck, no place on his body was left alone. The armor covered every inch of it. This was the first time Michael wore Lucifer armor, without the cloak and mask. Logan was the tallest one in the group, who stood at 6 feet 7 inches, yet the transformation made Michael an inch taller than Logan himself. After the armor was completely set on his body, they saw dark smoke being radiated from his body. Soon afterward, his eyes ignited with dark red fire. These people were somewhat lucky to witness the Dark Lord's first evolution. It can't be. You were dead, Maria stuttered in fear. Not only her but everyone began to fear him because of the fear toxin in the air. Even if there wasn't any fear toxin in the air, they would have reacted the same way. They had never seen someone fly or heal this fast in the southern continent. It was clear as a day that he's using magic, except they had no idea how. Don't! When Maria saw him move forward towards her in the air, she shouted, taking out the orb from her satchel. She applied pressure to the orb as it began to produce creaking sounds. "I'll destroy it," she threatened Michael with the artifact. "What makes you think I care?" He just raised his finger. The next moment, a bolt of a golden lightning bolt shot towards the orb from his fingertip. The orb shattered by the lightning bolt into countless pieces. How? Are you doing this?" Jonah stuttered while the others began to question their sanity. "Magic. Impossible." Michael stopped releasing the fear toxin into the air. He knew the display of spellcasting would keep them afraid. Even he himself didn't know the complete extent of his new powers. He was now at the core formation level 8. The system put his body into hibernation, so he could absorb most of the first energy radiated by the artifact. Although his body was put into hibernation, he heard everything Maria said. You're good," he spoke while still floating in the air. It wasn't just mere words, she really did surprise Michael. Even he was unable to see through her scheme. "The artifact will be awakened in 10 minutes. The system reminded Michael. Before the blast, he switched the orb with the system's help. If he had avoided the blast, Maria or Johnny wouldn't have thought he was dead. Then they might have killed him for real, as he was unable to move a muscle during the hibernation process. Getting blasted by the explosive hurt him like hell, yet his hunger for power gave him the strength to endure the pain. Because he endured the pain, she left him alone without interrupting his absorption process, as well as the process of opening the artifact. Meanwhile, the system was opening the artifact. He decided to test his newfound powers on the people before him. He was currently using one of his powers, the dark smoke. Since the system was busy with opening the artifact, it never actually explained the new powers in detail to him. He was extremely curious about what the system meant by awakening his Dark Lord powers. "Although your plan wasn't perfect, it got the job done. If I'm right, you already have a way to escape this pyramid." Maria or no one in the hall opened their mouths. They were either too scared or shocked to speak. "I'll let you live if you kneel down and swear your loyalty to me." He almost felt bad for killing them, so he decided to offer them a choice to save themselves. Not that he expected any of them to kneel down, still he gave them a choice. "Since even daughters want you dead, I'll give you 3 seconds to make a choice." Whoosh. Suddenly an arrow shot towards Michael from Marcellus' crossbow. Rude, he caught the crossbow bolt easily before it could reach him. Wind blast. A gust of wind shot from Michael's hand blasted away the entire group into the wall behind them. They all collided with the wall before dropping to the ground. Jonah completely lost his consciousness after the collision. He remained on the ground without moving a muscle. "Your time's up to Ross. Maria saw the same golden lightning bolt that destroyed the artifact being fired at her father. The lightning bolt went straight between Ross' eyes, creating almost an inch-wide radius hole in his forehead. "No!" Marcella screamed, looking at the blood gushing out of Ross' head. His eyes remained open, staring at Michael with utter shock. "Murderer, I'll kill you!" Marcella tried to pick her crossbow frantically. Because he stopped emitting fear toxin into the air, they somewhat gained the courage to fight back, partially due to the adrenaline. Seeing her father's corpse lying beside kindled the feelings she never wanted to feel again. Initially, she thought she was ruthless enough to kill her father, except when Ross was killed by the monster in front of her, tears gushed out of her eyes. "Ignitia!" He raised his finger again as another lightning bolt shot towards Marcella. Marcella was quick, but she was not quick enough to evade the lightning bolt. She could not even knock one bolt in her crossbow before the lightning bolt ended her life. Michael felt pity when she saw her dead body hit the ground. If she was willing, he could have used her as a subordinate. If it was before he saw the future, he would have let them go or tried to pursue them to be his subordinates. Except now he couldn't afford to make a mistake like keeping an unwilling subordinate, even if the system could ensure they can't do any harm to him. Besides, he knew Marcella or Ross would rather die than bend their knees before him. You killed them. You killed my father." Following Marcella's death, Mariah's anger erupted in her heart like a volcano. The veins in her eyes popped, turning her eyes blood red. "Isn't that what you wanted? Don't tell me you've gone soft. I'll kill you." "Master." Johnny tried to stop Marcella, but she had already taken her spear to kill Michael. Logan on the other side was staring at everything in complete shock. He never imagined a guy who protected them along the way would kill them. Even though he knew David for a short amount of time, he considered him as a friend, and it kept him from lifting his sledgehammer against David. "Go in peace, Maria." He wasn't mad at Maria for what she has done until now. If he had to blame someone, it would be Ross, who made all the mistakes that turned Maria into this. Ignitia, feeling pity for her, he fired the lightning bolt from the tip of his finger. Like before, the lightning bolt went straight through her forehead. Because Johnny stood behind her, the lightning bolt pierced his throat. In one lightning bolt, Michael took 2 lives. The deaths of Maria and Johnny finally brought Logan back to reality. He mustered his courage to raise his sledgehammer against Michael, though he knew he had no chance of winning against a magic caster. Logan never really believed in gods, but looking at David, he wondered if he's a god himself came to the world to punish them. "Stand down, Logan." Michael waved his hand as the sledgehammer in Logan's hand flew away from the big guy's hands. "Back at the ship, you said you're going to retire after this mission and live the rest of your life as a wealthy person. Swear your loyalty, Logan, and you'll be richer than you've never even imagined." Unlike Marcella or Ross, he liked Logan. Logan was a simple-minded good guy who would never scheme against him. Because of that, he tried to convince Logan to be his subordinate. "Who are you, David? Is David even your real name?" Despite Logan's look, the big guys had a soft heart. That was why Michael could see the sadness of losing Ross and Marcella in his eyes. "This world will soon turn into a living nightmare, Logan. I'm here to stop it, by slaughtering people in cold blood." "After seeing you use magic inside the void line, I don't know what to believe anymore, but one thing I'm sure, David. This isn't how you save the world." Note: don't think MC will become a self-righteous goody two-shoes and world-saving drug. He's going to change the world to his liking. Chapter 257. You think this world doesn't need saving? Open your eyes. What do you think would have happened if Ross gave the artifact to the Giselle Senate? They will control the undead army outside, wage war against the other kingdoms, and thousands of people will die, lose their families, and end up being slaves to the rich. If you by any chance thought of any of them as innocent, you're the most naive person in the world. These words played again and again in Logan's mind. And look around you, man. If this world needs saving, it's from you. You killed a father, a daughter, and a good friend for what? Refusing to serve you? Do you really think you're the good guy? Michael heard everything without uttering a word as Logan continued. I might be a mercenary, but I have no innocent blood on my hand. If I agree to serve you, I'll end up just like you. So go ahead, kill me. You're so full of it, big guy. Finally, Michael couldn't take any more of this bullshit Logan spouting. You think this world doesn't need saving? Open your eyes. What do you think would have happened if Ross gave the artifact to the Giselle Senate? They will control the undead army outside, wage war against the other kingdoms, and thousands of people will die, lose their families, and end up being slaves to the rich. If you by any chance thought of any of them as innocent, you're the most naive person in the world. Logan stared at the dead bodies around them. Deep down, he knew no one here is innocent. One day you'll realize that the good guys aren't enough to save the world. Michael activated the lightning dash, appearing in front of Logan within a snap of time. Logan felt like he was hit by a big log in the face before everything turned dark. He could have easily killed Logan like the others, but his instincts told him not to. Somehow Michael believed Logan would be a loyal subordinate in the future. After knocking Logan down, his gaze turned to H, who was staring at him with a pale face. Jonah was still unconscious. What about you, H? Do you want to serve me or die? Sparks of lightning danced around his fingers. Looking at the lightning sparks, H shivered. I'll serve you, my lord. This was the first time Michael saw overwhelming fear in H's face. Even when they were facing deadly odds, he never lost the courage, yet the fear toxin and the power he displayed broke H's courage completely. Michael was glad of H's choice because people like him are easier to keep on the leash rather than people like Ross who chose death rather than bending his knees. What's your real name? Michael floated slowly towards H. Hey. Heinberg, my lord, he stuttered without looking him in the eyes. Are you willing to be my subordinate, Heinberg? Michael doubted the system would accept him as a subordinate, because Heinberg was basically forced to swear his loyalty. It was either bending his knees or death, and Heinberg chose to bend the knee. Yes. Yes, my lord. He quickly sat in front of him on one knee, swearing his loyalty. Warning. The target cannot be forced to be the host's subordinate. The system recommends a different way to make the target swears his loyalty towards the host. Just as he expected, the system threw him a couple of warning messages. Previously, when he was recruiting someone to be his subordinate, he used a stick and carrot method, except now where he only gave them the stick, not the carrot. He doesn't need to be registered with you, system. He ignored the system's messages. In the southern continent, he was like a god. He doubted Heinberg would be stupid enough to betray him. If Michael wanted, he could destroy the Giselle kingdom, or any kingdom in the southern continent, in a couple of days. If he brought Nightmare with him, and he was able to use his dragon breath, it'd only take a day to destroy any kingdom. Rise, Heinberg. Somehow Michael felt like movie villains, speaking these words through the voice modulator. Heinberg swallowed a mouthful of saliva before slowly standing up. He was loyal to the Senate leader Caius, but not enough to die for him. Caius always used him to do his dirty works. The only reason Heinberg whirled for him was Caius paid him handsomely. It was under Caius' order he came here to retrieve the artifact. Ross knew this. However, what Ross didn't know was his secondary objective. Heinberg was to capture one of the alpha undeads. After what happened to Ross' wife, the Senate dropped the idea of experimenting with the undeads. They felt like it was a far greater risk than they were initially thinking. Besides, except for Ross, no one was willing to venture into this island and capture an alpha undead. Tell me, Heinberg, why did you bring Jonah with you? This was a question Michael wanted to know the answer for. He's here to help me capture one of the alpha undeads. My lord. Heinberg didn't dare to hide the truth from him. Capture an alpha undead? Under whose orders? Michael had a hard time believing that an entire Senate would be utterly stupid enough to experiment on an alpha undead that possessed the intelligence of a human and abilities of a superhuman. Senator Caius orders. He's one of the Senate leaders and Jonah is his son. Michael frowned, staring at the unconscious Jonah. No loving father would send their child to this hell, unless that father didn't give a damn about his child. Senator Caius, huh? I'll meet him soon. Caius seemed like an interesting person who would either prove useful to Michael or die. Dark Queen, have you finished the task? Heinberg had no idea who he was talking to. While he was staring at David, he felt the hall tremble. Heinberg looked over his shoulder to see another figure in the dark appear. In a blink of an eye, the figure appeared beside David. Heinberg felt a chill running through his spine when he saw the figure who just appeared, and what she brought with her. Looking at the armor itself, Heinberg could tell it was a girl. She was also wearing the exact same armor as David, but she didn't radiate black smoke around her, or had crimson-red eyes. Rather, she looked normal compared to him. The girl didn't freak him out, but it was the three figures who were standing behind the girl that made him shiver. Although the girl covered their faces with black cloth, Heimberg could tell looking at their skinless body that stinks to high heaven, alpha undeads. She was controlling them through the chain attached to their collars like dogs. The alpha undead rattled the chains violently, yet they could never escape. Heimberg took several steps back, when one of the alpha undead reached its hand out to scratch him. Dalar will have a time of his life with them, Michael said while Gaia stared at Heimberg and the dead bodies around them. Because of the mask she was wearing, Michael couldn't tell the shock and surprise in her eyes. It was obvious the reason for her shock was his sudden transformation, yet Heimberg's existence before they prevented her from questioning him about his new powers. No alpha undeads in the forest. If any more of them is here, they would be among the army outside. Michael nodded. The 3 alpha undeads would be enough for Dalar or him to experiment. He knew the artifact is the reason for alpha undeads, yet he wanted to know more about this new kind of undead. However, unlike Caius, he was not going to bring the undeads to the dark forest, but planning to bring Dalar to the southern continent. Did you get it? Her curiosity got the better of her as she asked him about the artifact. She gawked around to see it, but she couldn't find anything except dead bodies and weapons. Heimberg too wanted to see what kind of artifact they sent them to get. Michael tapped his chest. It's here. We'll talk about it on the ship. Gaia nodded, controlling her curiosity. Heimberg wake tie him up with this. Michael threw ropes at Heimberg looking at Jonah. He still hasn't found out what to do with Jonah, but it was unnecessary to kill Jonah until he knew more about Jonah's ability. Heimberg stared at Logan, asking what to do with them wordlessly. Tie him up too. Heimberg wondered why he didn't kill Logan. The person in front of him obviously wasn't much of a kind-hearted guy. Otherwise he wouldn't have killed Ross and everyone in cold blood. Heimberg couldn't help but question why he spared Logan. One thing was sure for Heimberg, he was planning something with the big guy. After Heimberg stepped back to tie Jonah and Logan up, Gaia began to stare at Michael from top to bottom. The black smoke kinda looked scary to her. Plus, the crimson eyes made him look like some kind of an evil god. Awesome. Teach me the tricks too, she whispered. Her eyes sparkled behind the mask. Artifact is ready to open. The system recommends the host send Heimberg away before opening the artifact. A smile emerged on his face as the time to see the artifact had finally come. Chapter 258. Because of the system's warning, Michael reluctantly decided to wait before opening the artifact. What are we gonna do with those bodies? While Heimberg was tying up Jonah and Logan, she asked about the dead bodies. We'll give them a proper burial. They deserve it. He was not a monster to let the bodies rot or throw the bodies to the undead army outside. What do you think about this place? Michael asked Gaia. It wasn't anything fancy, just a gigantic empty hall surrounded by old walls. If you think about making this place our base in the southern continent, I have no objection. In fact, I was thinking the same. The pyramid has nature's protection like the rainforest and the ocean surrounding the island. Also, we have an undead army standing outside protecting from everything. She spoke what he had in his mind. Yet he wanted to tell her something. This place was built by the Order of the Death. Behind her mask, her brows arched up in surprise. The same guys who built the Abyssal? Yeah, when I entered this place first, this building or something talked. It said, "Welcome Lord Lucifer." Are you sure? Pretty sure. I haven't heard the voice after that. Well, for dead guys, they'd been pretty helpful for us. First, they gave us the Abyssal and now they had given us this pyramid. She was pretty happy with the place. Without using arch energy, it would be nearly impossible for someone to reach this place. If they destroyed the rope bridge outside, no one in this world could get inside unless someone could fly to the top of the pyramid and activate the teleporting light. Thinking about the teleporting light, she remembered something else. Hey, if they built this place, they would have left something to control the teleporting light, right? What about the artifact? Take it out, I want to see it. She shook him by his elbow in curiosity. Contain your curious snake. We'll open it when we're alone. He gave a gentle knock on her head. As payback, she too gently punched him in the shoulder. Finally, after a few more minutes, Heimberg finished tying Logan and Jonah. He dragged the two of them to Michael. Logan's face was swollen on the place where he received Michael's punch. Jonah, on the other hand, received no punches, yet he completely lost his consciousness, simply due to the overwhelming fear stimulated by the fear toxin he inhaled. With the bodies tied up, he still had one more thing to take care of. He flew towards the wall in front of him as he heard the system's voice in his head. Does the host wish to mark this place for runic teleportation? Yep. A golden L symbol appeared on the wall before disappearing out of sight. Now that he had taken care of the teleportation, he came back to Heimberg. Heimberg, hold on to them. He barely understood his words before he saw David raise his hand. Suddenly he was lifted by an invisible force. His body jerked, but he was able to balance himself by holding on to the unconscious bodies of Jonah and Logan. Heimberg looked over his shoulder while being lifted into the air, to see the dead bodies also being lifted into the air. "I'm flying," Heimberg mumbled. This was the first time he had experienced something like this. When they reached the top, the light appeared from the very top of the pyramid. Like before, the light enveloped them. The light disappeared as they appeared on the rope bridge. The sunlight has completely disappeared, but the moon provided gentle yet beautiful light along with sparkling stars. For a few moments, Michael just stared at the moonlit sky as it soothed his soul. The sky had millions of stars, sparkling in various colors. The distant Milky Ways added extra charm to the dark blue sky. In his focus on the sky, he overlooked the silent reaper docked in the sea in the distance. "Where's the east? This world, it's beautiful, isn't it?" he asked, still staring at the sky. It wasn't as he had never seen such sights back on Earth. It's that something about this world that made even simple sights artistic and divine. Yes, my lord, the sight really made him agree with David wholeheartedly. Previously he heard some people who traveled on flying ships boast about views. At that time he simply thought they were boasting about their flying ship trip, though now, experiencing the view himself, he realized they weren't just bragging but telling the truth. Heimberg pointed in the opposite direction to where they came from. Soon, Heimberg began to float again in the air. He went higher and higher as he was able to see a black ship. The sails of the ship were up, meaning the ship was docked. He felt pity for the group who's coming for the artifact, or the glory of killing the undeads. However, even from a distance, Heimberg could tell the ship wasn't just a merchant ship, it looked like a warship. "The world will be more beautiful when we rule it." His heart skipped a beat after the girl spoke these words. If someone had spoken the same words, he would have laughed it off, but these two could really bring down the entire southern continent in a few days as far as he knew. "That's the plan," he nodded before continuing his journey towards the east where the Silent Reaper is waiting for them. They flew above the army of undead and the ocean of trees before landing on a small mountain peak. From the peak, they could clearly see the ocean and the Silent Reaper. A small portion of the cliff was barren without any trees, and he chose this place to be their graves. Bury them here. He quickly entered the system store to buy a shovel and 2 knockout potions. "Fear not, there aren't any undeads near you." He threw the shovel at Heimberg as he took off from the cliff with Gaia, leaving Heimberg with the dead bodies while he took Jonah and Logan with him. "I can see the point in sparing the big guy, but why did you spare him?" she asked, poking Jonah in the face. No matter how many times she poked him, he still didn't wake up. Sometimes, brains can be just as useful as bronze. "Let's make this guy work with Dalar. That way if Dalar were to die, we'll have another expert in undeads." She was genuinely surprised at his words. "You think Dalar would betray us?" Since the system went haywire when he tried to recruit Dalar as his subordinate, Michael knew something was up with Dalar. Hence, he put surveillance cameras in Dalar's room to monitor him. Even to this day, Michael was keeping an eye on Dalar. There was no denying Dalar's talent in summoning and controlling netherils. If he was to face Guardians and probably the 9 great clans, he knew he would have to use the netherils at some point. If Jonah could learn everything there is to learn about summoning netherils, Michael could dispose of Dalar without worrying about losing the anetherils. Of course, if Dalar remained loyal to him, he wouldn't kill the orc. While flying towards the Silent Reaper docked in the sea, he flicked his wrist as 2 syringes and a vial of sparkling sky blue potion appeared in his hand. Gaia saw him filling the syringes with the potion she had never seen before. Michael soon injected each syringe into Jonah and Logan to make sure they don't wake up at least for another 12 hours, as the syringes contained a powerful knockout agent. This potion would be useless against cultivators, so he never bothered to brew and sell them in the Majestic. Since the Southerners weren't cultivators, he could knock out anyone with this potion. Under the moonlight, Shorty was having a peaceful walk with his good old friend called Rum. The others were long gone to their beds except him. He was bored out of his mind for the last couple of weeks. He wanted to go out in the sea, plunder merchant ships. I hope the new captain will let us plunder as before. I mean, how could we call ourselves pirates if we don't do any pirating? On the other hand, if the new captain wants, he could use magic to make any kingdom give what we want. Is that really pirating? I'm talking to myself again. Short slapped himself. He laid on the wooden floor, looking at the moon. It doesn't hurt to get yourself some rest, has Shorty? Again he spoke to himself. Isn't this past your bedtime, Shorty? Shorty tripped the rum bottle. He kept beside him in fear. His body jerked as he jumped up to see two figures flying towards him. What in the hell? Shorty rubbed his eyes. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. The sudden fear removed the rum's effects. His blurry vision soon cleared up to reveal the figure of Dark Queen. Dark Queen, no matter how many times he had seen her, she still freaked him out with her black armor and magic. Shorty recognized her, but he couldn't recognize Michael because Shorty never saw him in his Lucifer armor. Lock them in a cell. Michael was not in the mood to stay and chat with his crew. He just threw Jonah and Logan on the floor. Then he willed the system to teleport him and Gaia back to the pyramid. What's your guess about the artifact? What will it be? Let me give you a clue. It's badass. And oh, I already gave you a clue in one of the S. The clue is in Chapter 248. Chapter 259. They both appeared inside the hall once again. The light emitted from the walls around them was enough to see the hall clearly. Come on, show me, system. He willed the system to hand him over the artifact from the system storage. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. A small light emerged above his hand before transforming itself into a silver oval-shaped object. Although from the outside it looked like an ordinary thing, she could feel an immense amount of energy pulsating from within. Is that an egg? She reached out to touch the artifact in his hand. The thing in his hand wasn't what he expected. At first, it was a black orb and now it just changed its color to silver. Crack. Just as Gaia's hand touched the surface of the thing, cracks began to form on its surface. It is an egg, Michael confirmed his suspicion, sensing a heartbeat from the thing. Ah. Suddenly Gaia squealed. He was stunned by her sudden, unexpected reaction. Before he could ask her why, he too felt intense pain all over his body. It felt like his soul itself screaming in pain for a second. The pain quickly vanished as he saw a tiny head rising from the egg. Soon, another tiny head rose from the egg. They were stunned to see two tiny heads, but to their surprise, another head rose. Under their bewildered gazes, the tiny beast completely broke out of the shell. Another shock hit their core as they were not three beasts but the three heads shared one body. The hand-sized beast shockingly resembled a beast on Earth. Not a real living beast but a beast he saw in movies, King Ghidorah. The only different factor was the color of its scales and the eyes. Each head was covered in different color scales. The head in the center had shiny cloud silver scales while one head in the right had pure white scales, and the left one had black scales. The head in the center stared at Michael and Gaia with its rather round eyes that somewhat made the beast look cute. Give me something to eat, jerk. The white head spoke in a feminine voice to break them out from their daze. The white head sounded like the child version of Gaia. Huh. She was too stunned to get back at the white head. They are in a trauma state because this might be the first time they have seen our kind. I cannot find any references to our species in their memories. Michael saw the silver head speak in a calm voice. The black head, however, remained silent. It stared at the hall like it was surveying the surrounding. System, what kind of beast is this? It's one of the rarest beings in the universe, a three-headed hydra. The system lacks the necessary information to find how the three-headed hydra egg ended up in this world. But the egg has been in a hibernation state for over 3,000 years. Over 3,000 years. Wow. The system also found that the three-headed Hydra emits the same frequency of energy that has been sucking the arch energy in the southern continent, hence the void area. Do you think there might be another Hydra sleeping beneath the southern continent? Yes, the system has already informed the host about the extraterrestrial being consuming the arch energy. Now it seems like the extraterrestrial being is a Hydra. He remembered the system's words. It also warned him not to go search for the being until he reached the immortal stage. Jerk. No, the word is bitch, yeah bitch. Give me something to eat, bitch. The whitehead gnarred its teeth at Gaia. She finally came back to her senses. Who do you calling bitch, you tiny fuck? I will rip your head off. She flicked the Hydra's white head. Please stop, the silver head pleaded with both of them, but the white had already moved itself to take a bite out of her hand. Fortunately, the neck was not long enough for the white head to get to her hand. You don't seem like a normal human in your memories. The blackhead finally opened its mouth, questioning Michael. Did you read our memories? Michael creased his brows. If the Hydra read his memories, it would know about his previous life on Earth. This was too early to trust this beast with his previous life. Until now, only Gaia knew about his origin, and he would like to keep it that way. Luckily, Blackhead Hydra shook its head. We didn't read your memoirs but learned the necessary information and skills such as the language, the species in this world, etc. System? He called out the system to check whether it's true or not. The system reassures the host that the Hydra cannot read one's memories. It could only absorb certain knowledge from the being it first touches after it hatches. In this case, the Hydra touched both you and Gaia, so it absorbed the knowledge necessary for its survival from your brains and also. The system's voice trailed away. There's always something else with you, system. I'm not even surprised. He mentally prepared himself to hear what the system's going to say next. A hatchling Hydra would usually get its knowledge from another Hydra, most of the time from its mother. However, if the hatchling Hydra touched another species, on top of the necessary knowledge, it would also inherit the personality of the being it touched. Let me guess, the Hydra inherited both mine and Gaia's personalities. Huh. Kinda. If he could move his body while he was interacting with the system, he would have rubbed his temples. Everything was complex when it came to him. He learned to blame himself rather than the system. Hit me with it. Each head inherited each of your personalities. Wait a minute, there are 3 heads and there's only 2 of us, he interrupted the system. The white head, as you may have noticed, inherited Gaia's personality. The black head inherited the personality of yourself on Earth. The silver head inherited a brass personality. Huh? The system confused Michael. Nothing seemed out of place from the system's previous explanation when it came to Gaia and the white head. He couldn't help wondering how the hell did the silver head inherited a brass personality when he was not even alive. Trust me, host, you can't and won't comprehend the process of Hydra inheritance. The system sounded somewhat overbearing when it spoke these words like it was an all-knowing person, and Michael was a stupid kid. Then simplify it, system. He tried to remain calm despite the system's attitude. Well, The system went silent for a few seconds before speaking again. The Hydra inherits the personality from the soul of the being it first touched, right? Yes. If the Hydra had touched Gaia only, the Hydra would have inherited only her personality as she has only one soul. But the host happens to have a split soul, one part Abra's, one part you. Therefore, when it touched both of you, the inheritance process resulted in the Hydra inheriting the personality of Gaia, Abra's, and you. Now the 3 heads are the best and or worst versions of yourselves. Michael uttered no words, but let everything sink in silence. What are you so upset about, host? You're extremely lucky to get your hands on a Hydra. So quit whining and take the world by storm. For better or worse, the system lightened his mood. Can I make the Hydra my pet? Or a subordinate? Yes, you can, for a price. What price? I didn't pay you when Nightmare became my familiar. Because it's a dragon and the one in your hand is a Hydra, not to mention of the powerful beings in the entire universe. He sighed in his heart. After spending his time with the system, he had learned there's no point in arguing with the system when it comes to badass points. Hence, he decided to shut up and pay the price to make the Hydra his familiar, just like Nightmare. Are you gonna tell me the price or not? 9,999 badass points only. He wanted to slap the system silly when he heard it shamelessly talk like a salesperson. Why don't you round up and take 10,000? Cool, will do. Wait, what? Fuck. It was too late for him to regret as he saw 10,000 badass points getting reduced, making his total number of badass points to 64,000. Looking at the number, he could tell it was gradually increasing because of the sect. Since the Legend of the Sunrise sect had been growing, the number of badass points he receives per month increased significantly. For now, he had other things to worry about than the number of badass points. He came out of the system to see Gaia and the white head looking at each other menacingly while the silver head tried to snuff out the anger fire with them. Looking at the three heads, the system's words made more sense to him. The white head was Gaia, hungry, bad-mouthing, and ill-tempered. The silver head, Abra's kind, honest, loving personality. Finally the black head, cunning, intelligent, shrewd. Looking at the black head's eyes felt like he was looking at himself in the mirror. The black head was the ghost before his soul merged with Abra's. Among the three heads, the black head, it was the deadliest. Just by looking at its eyes, Michael could tell. After all, it inherited his personality. Chapter 260. How long are we here? We don't see any information regarding our species in your memories. That means we're either extinct in this world, or we came from somewhere else. Another world. The blackhead was spot on. The other two heads immediately turned their gazes towards the blackhead after they heard its words. As far as I know, 3,000 years. How can you tell? The silver head, which inherited Abra's personality, asked Michael. Can we really trust this three-headed beast? Or are these three beasts in one body? I'm confused. Oh, I have a question too, the white head said. Why don't you shut up? Ouch. Michael flicked the white head before Gaia started a fight with it again. I swear to gods I'm gonna crush this little shit. The black head moved towards the white head, headbutting the white head to make it shut up. You're hitting yourself, you idiot, the white head rebuked after getting headbutt by the black head. Regardless that they were just born, they began to fight like siblings. Michael waited for them to finish fighting between them while Gaia came to his side. Let the man speak. The silver head broke off the fight by putting its head in between them. After a few seconds, all three heads turned towards Michael. Your species are called Hydra. I don't know where you came from, but the black head is right. You're not a creature of this world. Then how did we end up here? The silver head asked. My guess is 3,000 years ago, an organization called the Order of the Death found you and built this pyramid to keep you safe. Safe from what? The white head gnarred its teeth. The silver head looked worried while the black head did not show any changes on its face. It remained calm and collected. Probably from the Guardians. Do you know about the Guardians? Michael asked the Hydra. No, said the white head. Then we have a lot to talk about, but first, you three should know the situation you're in. The Hydra may have been born just a couple of minutes ago, but after a few interactions with it, Michael could tell it has the mental capacity of a full-grown human already. Even Nightmare wasn't as intelligent as the Hydra when Michael took him in. The organization that saved you is no more but their enemies, Guardians. Now they are one of the most powerful organizations in this world. Anything remotely related to the Order of the Death is considered evil by them. So on top of you guys are extraterrestrial. Your history with the Order is enough for the Guardians to hunt you down and kill you. That's the best case. You hear that? That's the best case, Gaia devilishly chuckled looking at the white head. Now tell them the worst case. The worst case is 3 spend your lives in some torture room where they would do all kinds of experiments on you. You have 3 heads, so use your imagination. He stopped talking for a moment to let everything sink into them. It was logical for them not to trust him completely. However, Michael had his ways to make all 3 heads trust him. Lucky for you guys, we share the same enemy, the Guardians, and you 3 happen to inherit our personalities. Wait, what? His last words wiped off the smile on Gaia's face. Haven't you noticed? The white head inherited your personality. Are you kidding? Both Gaia and the white head asked him at the same time. Meanwhile, the black head and the silver head stared at each other before turning their gazes at Michael. First, they wondered whether what he said about the white head inheriting Gaia's personality was true or not. Secondly, if what he said was true, they wondered who among the 2 of them inherited Michael's personality. I want to ask how you know this, but I'm not gonna do that. Like always, I'll just trust you. Let me guess. You're not gonna tell us how you know about us when there are no other species of our kind in your world. The blackhead saw Michael nod. It's not important how I know. What's important is, you three are connected to us. For a few seconds, the blackhead and the silverhead focused their gazes on Michael. The whitehead, however, locked in a staring contest with Gaia. Times like these made him question Gaia's maturity level. It was like her inner child is still alive and well. First, he saw her bicker with Nightmare constantly, and now, she locked horns with the whitehead. If what you're saying is true, who inherited your personality, you or him? Both. You don't have to completely believe me. We're gonna suspend some quality time together, and you'll come to realize the truth behind my words. The two heads looked at Gaia and the whitehead. Michael then took out the artifact he got from Nightcrawler. Do you recognize this? Or know anything about it? This is what led us to you. Finally, the whitehead took its gaze away from Gaia. The three heads moved towards the artifact, studying the artifact. Hey, I can sense some familiarity with this. Me too, the silverhead and the whitehead whispered to each other. Are we gonna trust these humans? Michael or Gaia couldn't hear them as the Hydra's voice was way below the frequency of the human hearing range. You see another way? We were just born and we still don't have enough information about this world to survive. He was right about one thing. This world doesn't have another one of us, so it's likely that someone would try to capture and experiment on us. The blackhead spoke as the silverhead nodded in agreement. They seem okay and trustworthy to me. After all, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even have been born. So what do we do? The whitehead asked the other two. The silverhead turned its gaze towards the blackhead. We have to be with them until we know more about everything. The three of them agreed with a nod. Until they learn everything there is to know about their species in this world, they decided to live with Michael. After deciding, they looked back at the artifact in front of them again. One of my kind. Suddenly the three of them heard a voice inside their head. Good. Very good. The three of them felt an intense pain inside their heads. They tried to shake the pain away, but every single word the voice uttered increased the pain they were feeling. Michael sensed the artifact in his hand slightly tremble. A couple of seconds after he felt the tremble, the three heads began to bang their heads with each other in pain. Something's happening. Gaia quickly yet gently took the Hydra from Michael's palm. The system has found another Hydra trying to establish a telepathic connection with the three heads. The system recommends the host destroy the artifact immediately. Get out of our heads, the tiny Hydra screamed. This time they heard it scream loud and clear. He tried to crush the artifact, but no matter how hard he tried, he simply lacked the strength to crush it. Death range. The surroundings immediately darkened, almost pitch black. Gaia could see the literal fire in his eyes burning brighter and brighter. Crack. The artifact produced a cracking sound under his crush. Soon more cracks formed on its surface. He couldn't know the exact extent of his power inside the death range after absorbing the first energy radiated from the Hydra egg. Yet he could feel his raw strength at least multiplied by 3 times. Finally, Michael crushed the artifact into pieces. But the moment he destroyed the artifact, a monstrous shout echoed through the empty halls. How dare you! The entire pyramid trembled violently as dust and stone pieces from the ceiling began to fall down. Large cracks formed in the walls as well as the ground beneath them. For a moment, they thought the floor was gonna split open. It was a frickin' earthquake on the level of Richter 9. Quickly Michael and Gaia flew upwards to escape the pyramid. They didn't want the pyramid to fall on their heads. Soon, the light surrounded them to teleport them outside. When they came outside, they saw large cracks running through the outer walls of the pyramid. The hibernating undead army had long awoken by the earthquake. The ground cracked open in several areas as many undeads fell into the cracks. No. Michael was afraid of the pyramid crumbling down into dust. He just found a perfect base in the southern continent. He would hate for it to be destroyed before he could even use it for a single day. Are you guys alright? Gaia asked the Hydra in her hand. The 3 heads slowly rose up. Here, take this, you'll feel better. What is it? The silver head ignored the black head's quest as it already opened its tiny mouth wide open to let her pour the healing potion into its mouth. Fortunately, after a few minutes, The earthquake stopped and everything remained as it was except for the several cracks on the ground surrounding the pyramid, and on its surface itself. Blackhead and Whitehead felt their pain ease up after the Silverhead drank the potion. They were able to take a few deep breaths after the earthquake stopped. "It seems you guys already made another enemy," he said, looking at the three heads. "That might another hostile Hydra." Chapter 261. After the earthquake, they didn't return to the pyramid but flew back to the cliff where they left Heimberg to bury the others. On his way to the cliff, Michael saw a few broken trees, cracks large enough to get noticed from high altitude, as well as flocks of birds flying out of the forest. He was hoping Heimberg survived the earthquake because Heimberg was the doorway to dominate his first target, the Kingdom of Giselle. "So what did you say the name of this island?" "Undead Island. You should stay away from these nasty little fuckers." It was weird enough to see her keeping the Hydra closer to her chest like the Hydra was her baby, and now she began to advise them. Is she planning to keep it as her pet? He couldn't help questioning himself. He wouldn't mind if she wants to keep the Hydra as her familiar. Everything she has was his, and everything he has was hers. He never thought Nightmare solely belonged to him, and he would never be jealous if she bonded with the Hydra more than him. Gradually Michael slowed his flying speed, until he came to a stop in the mid-air. "Why did you stop?" Michael turned back to look at the tiny Hydra in her hand. The three heads gawked at him, having no idea what he was going to say next. "Do you think we should reveal their existence or keep it a secret?" No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't come to a solid decision. Keeping the Hydra's existence a secret will probably be safer for them until they could figure out their powers, but hiding the Hydra's existence would prevent him from earning more badass points. Why would you hide the Hydra from the world? Show-off host. The one who answered Michael was not Gaia but the system itself. No one likes a show-off system, unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck. Fuck, that's true. Let's hide them when we are on the Elon continent. Here, we don't need to hide them. I think we should keep our heads low. The Blackhead voted for hiding from the world. Fuck that, I'm not gonna do anything. If you want to keep your ugly head down, go ahead, no one's stopping you. The Whitehead, however, disagreed with the Blackhead, leaving the Silverhead to break the tie. The Silverhead gawked at between Gaia and Michael before finally fixing its eyes on Michael. For a few seconds, Michael pondered about the issue in his mind. Taking a deep breath, Michael made his decision. Well, do as she says. Obviously, they couldn't show the Hydra around in the cultivation continents like Elon because there were so many powerful figures who could kill Michael in a blink of an eye. However, in the southern continent, he was basically a godlike existence, so he had no need to worry about Hydra's safety. System, do the same thing you did to Nightmare. It would cost the host another 6,000 badass points. Don't act like you're not happy about it, System, he said in his mind, placing his hand on the three heads. What are you doing? The Whitehead chewed his palm, yet Michael just ignored it. Soon a light emerged from his hand, enveloping Hydra's tiny body. She was familiar with this sight as she saw him do the same to Nightmare. I missed that ugly lizard. When she saw the scene, her mind reminded her of Nightmare. She never thought she would miss seeing Nightmare every morning when she wakes up. No matter what she did, the dragon would always end up between them on the bed. She wondered what he was doing back home. Ever since a couple of weeks ago, she was having nightmares about someone calling for her. When she told Michael about her feelings, he said there's nothing to worry about. Of course, she didn't know Michael was checking the system to see Nightmare status. To this day, he didn't think someone would murder Jack. Where does the host want the system to teleport the Hydra? No, teleport them inside the pyramid. That's safer. The light soon disappeared from their sight. What was that? The Blackhead asked. When you're in danger, the rune I placed on you will teleport back inside the pyramid. That's wonderful, right guys? The Silverhead grinned. It does sound cool. Finally the three of them agreed on something. The Blackhead had its doubts, but for now, it knew there's no use in questioning him. As far as the Blackhead considered, they needed to depend on the two humans to survive in this world. All right, let's go. He turned back, continuing to fly towards the cliff. It took them only a couple of minutes before returning back to the cliff where they left Heimberg. Under the moonlight, Heimberg was standing in the middle of the graves he dug. He was pretty shaken up by the earthquake. Michael could clearly see the fear in his eyes. So you're still here, She wasn't completely sure that Heimberg would remain here instead of taking a chance to escape. She would rather have one subordinate with a functional brain than hundreds of stupid subordinates. Heimberg was not stupid enough to escape through the forest that was filled with dangers lurking everywhere. When Heimberg saw the three-headed creature in his hand, the fear in his eyes got replaced by surprise and shock. He wondered whether the beast came out of the orb or not. No matter what, Heimberg knew there's no chance in hell that anyone in the southern continent could take the artifact from these two. Let's go, Michael waved his hand as Heimberg began to rise from the ground. As a sign of respect, Michael stared at their graves for a few seconds before leaving them in the cliff to their endless slumber. Rest in peace. Under the glistening moonlight, the silent reaper was floating on the ocean calmly. The black warship looked more beautiful under the moonlight. The ship itself was calm, but not the crew members waiting for their captain. When Michael finally returned to the silent reaper, the entire crew were waiting for them on the deck. They seemed agitated. At first, they were pretty creeped out about Michael's appearance with all the armor, the fiery eyes and the black smoke cloud be around him. Seeing the pirates' tensed-up bodies, Gaia removed her mask. "What are you looking at?" "It's us, Michael." Gaia and Heimberg landed on the deck above the captain's cabin. He found Gibson gawking at him with fear in his eyes as the rest of them. Realizing he should go stand by his captain's side, Gibson came to Michael's side slightly limping. Gibson shuddered, looking at Michael's new form. "How are our guests doing?" "They're still unconscious, Lord Lucifer." Heimberg saw enough pirates in his life to recognize the people in front of him as pirates. They reeked of rum and ocean. He recognized their profession but not the ship itself. He rummaged through his memories but he had never seen this ship before, not in real life or in military scrolls. Michael willed the black smoke to disappear. In a couple of seconds, the smoke and the fire in his eyes disappeared. He had no need for the pirates to be afraid of him than they already were. "I assume we have a guest room in this ship." "Yes, we have a bunch, Lord Lucifer," Michael nodded. The first thing after he finished grasping the extent of his new powers, he wanted to take a tour around the ship to know its layouts, strengths, and weaknesses. Plus, he was planning to do some upgrades to the ship, mainly to its weaponry. Although he couldn't do any major weapon upgrades with his current inventor trait, he could still improve the existing cannons to do more damage. Since this was his first ship and he had taken a liking to the Silent Reaper, he would make this ship his home on the ocean as well as the most powerful ship in this entire world. "Shorty, show him our guest room," Michael ordered Shorty, who was standing in the front of the crowd. "Aye aye, Captain Lord Lucifer. Make yourself at home. We'll depart to Giselle in the morning." "Yes, Lord Lucifer." Heimberg bowed, addressing him the way the pirates did. It was obvious David was not his real name, and he preferred to go by Lord Lucifer, so Heimberg adapted to this new situation. After all, if the unruly pirates accepted him as their captain, he knew he made the right choice by bending his knees, unlike Ross or the others. "You guys can rest as well. We'll go to Giselle in the morning," he yet again reminded the pirates before turning to look at Gibson. "I'll be in my room if you need me." Michael walked towards the captain's deck with Gaia, leaving the pirates. The Hydra didn't like the way the pirates looked at them, yet it remained silent in Gaia's hand. Chapter 262. Although it had been some time, he never spent time in the captain's cabin. After walking down the stairs from the upper deck, he came before the captain's cabin. KRKKR. The doorknob creaked, letting him know about its old age. As he opened the door, he was welcomed by a lackluster room. Like the doorknob itself, the room looked ancient. There was no dust or cobwebs could be seen in the room as the pirates cleaned the room recently. The slow-burning candle on the oak table in the middle illuminated the room. The room was neither too big nor small. It was nearly the size of a master bedroom. Except for the white silk cushion on the room's corner, everything had a worn-out look to them. He thought Gaia would have redecorated the room. When he looked over his shoulder at Gaia, she just shrugged. "I was busy doing chores for you for a few seconds." He scanned everything in the room. There were 2 old 6-foot-tall books racks on either side of the room. He never expected a pirate captain to read books, though. Near the book racks, one could see small bronze statues of naked ladies, covering their breasts with their hands. The room reeked of rum. For a person who never drank alcohol in his life, he would never spend a day in this room. On the top of the book racks, He noticed more bronze statues as well as some old feather hats. Apart from these things, there was nothing in the room. Gibson. It only took Gibson a couple of seconds to come to his side. Except that cushion and the table, he pointed at the silk cushion he bought from and presented to Gaia. I want everything out. My lord, everything? Gibson creased his bushy brows. Yes, everything. Michael stepped outside the room while Gibson signaled the pirates to follow him into the room. Why throw everything out? The silver head of the Hydra meekly asked Gaia. Did you see that room? It's not fit for a king and queen. I want my own place to sleep, the white head promptly said while the black head remained uttering no words. Also tell them to clean the room. I want it spotless. He didn't think he could get rid of the smell without using a potion or completely water wash. Since using a potion to clean the room was way easier than cleaning the room with water, he thought of a potion to do so. Show me the crew quarters. Initially, Michael wanted to know more about his newfound powers. However, after seeing the condition of his cabin, he changed his mind. If the captain's cabin was in that condition, he couldn't even imagine what a horrible nightmare would be in the crew quarters. Lord Lucifer, Gibson dragged his voice, hesitating to step towards him. It can't be that bad. Gaia avoided venturing into the crew quarters or anywhere in the ship to the matter. Come on, Gibson. Let go. The door for the below deck was located a couple of meters in front of the mainsail pole. Michael let Gibson walk forward while he and Gaia followed him behind. The closer he got to the door, the more cold sweats appeared on his face. He was afraid of what the captain would do after seeing the mess downstairs. Creak, creak, creak. Every step he stepped on made a loud, annoying creaking noise. It wasn't a big surprise considering the ship's age, and the curse that condemned the ship to stay at sea forever, or until they broke the curse. There was barely any light in the downstairs. Just a moment, Lord Lucifer. Gibson ran his hands through every corner of his shirt to find a match to light the lantern hanging on the wall. Don't bother. Michael snapped his fingers as an orb of green flames appeared above his hand. The green light illuminated the room clearly. Before him was a small pathway leading to the other end of the ship. Either side of the pathway was filled with wooden barrels and a couple of bunk beds. The below deck reeked of rum 10 times more than the captain's cabin. He was taken aback by the number of barrels lying around. The pirates clearly didn't bother to stack the barrels. He saw at least 50 wooden barrels before him. What's in those barrels? Although he had a feeling that those barrels are full of rum, he still asked Gibson because he couldn't completely come to terms with his crew wasting gold on this much rum. It's rum, Lord Lucifer. I want to know how much you bastards spending on buying rum tomorrow at the earliest. What they spent their gold on was not his business. Still, he gave a damn about it, because how could the pirates follow his orders if they were drunk to their throats? He didn't want mindless drunks to be his crew. He continued to venture forward with his alchemy flames lighting the way. The sight remained constant as everywhere he turned, he saw nothing but wood barrels. The barrels were taking so much space that could be used to store useful items such as gunpowder, alchemy ingredients, and rations. You guys ever eat or survive on only rum? Gibson scratched the back of his head in shame. Ever since Lucifer ordered him to stop drinking and start drinking the potion, he hadn't drunk a single drop of rum. However, the rest of the pirates began to drink more than usual in the joy of escaping the curse. Half of the pirates spent half of their cut in buying barrels of rum. The other half spent all their gold on the rum. The pirate cove ran out of rum as they had to order a new batch just for them. Gibson knew this would eventually come to the captain's eyes, but he never thought the day would come this soon. This is worse than I thought. They barely had enough space to walk. After crossing countless barrels, they came before a plain wooden door. Instead of opening the door, Gibson stood in front of him, hesitating to open it. Will this get any worse? Don't answer me. Gaia shook her head as Michael sent a wave of wind that pushed open the door. The moment the door opened, his nose was overwhelmed by the smell of puke and rum. The 3 heads buried themselves in Gaia's hand, covering their noses. If a public toilet that hadn't been cleaned for years and a sewer had a baby, it would smell way better than what he was smelling now. He thought he had a high tolerance for stink, but today, he was proven wrong. The sheets covering the bed were turned brown from white. Obviously, the pirates didn't wash them for decades. I'll give all you batards a day to clean the fuck out of my ship, Michael didn't even bother to brew potions, but bought detergents and chemicals from the system. Gibson saw hundreds of small bottles filling the area behind him. They all had colorful labels. He never saw these things before in his life. Usually, people would mix the detergents and these chemicals with water to clean the place. However, after witnessing the ship's condition as well as the stink coming from every corner, he bought enough chemicals to wash the entire ship without the need of mixing them with water. After giving them to Gibson, he turned back to leave. He really didn't think he could venture into the ship any further without throwing up. If he had known the ship's condition before, he would have let Heimberg stay on the upper deck instead of giving him the guest room. He wondered what might be the condition of the guest room. I pity our prisoners, Gaia chuckled. I don't even want to look at the prison. Michael walked back to the upper deck without turning his back. He watched enough horrible things for one day. When he reached the upper deck, the pirates were dragging the book racks out of the room. They almost took everything out of the room. Captain, where do we put these? Shorty came running to Michael, with a proud smile on his face. His face shone like he managed to do something incredible. Put them on my head. Michael twisted Shorty's ears. He directed his frustration on poor Shorty. Aw, Cap. Lord. The other pirates stopped what they were doing and began to laugh at Shorty. Stop laughing, you fucking idiots. I just saw the mess you've been making in my ship. The smile instantly disappeared from their faces when they heard him. They began to shudder, thinking he would throw away the rum barrels just like the things in his room. Get the fuck out of my sight and clean the mess downstairs. Michael wasted no time after saying this as he launched himself into the air with Gaia. After seeing everything, he lost interest in decorating his room. How could he decorate his room while the rest of his ship smell and look like shit? I take it back, I want to stay as far as I can from that ship, the whitehead said. It didn't bother to hide the disgust from showing in its voice. For a few moments, he just hovered in the air, looking at his ship below until Gaia broke his focus. Are you gonna keep staring at the ship or show me your new powers? As usual, this is the last filler chapter. Kinda a calm before the storm, chappy. After all, Hiran, the chapters will be filled with action, gore and bloodd. Chapter 263. Meanwhile, let's see what you can do now. Floating in the midair, she spoke in a challenging manner. She wanted to see the fiery eyes, and the smoke was just a display, or have any powers hidden within. Before he used his powers again, he willed the system to show his current status. System version 3.0 host, Michael cultivation level. Core formation stage, level 8 experience points. 5,000/400,000 badass points. 43,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL3 responsive shield, LVL4 environment scanning, LVL3 ignitia, LVL3 lightning dash, LVL3 energy devolver, LVL1 death range, LVL3 eyes of darkness, normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others. Eyes of darkness, Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through illusions. Cloud of darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful. If activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless spellcaster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques. Swords of Destiny, 90% Mastery Ring of Fire, 59% Mastery Serpent Maga, 87% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal, the Dark Lord status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death. Utility function. Banker, LVL3, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 10 badass points, runic teleportation wealth, 13 million gold. Special trait. 5-star alchemist, 3-star inventor. Subordinates. Gaia, warrior, loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star chef, loyalty level 98%. Arya, assassin, loyalty level 32%. Heimberg, warrior, loyalty level 18%. The Silent Reaper crew, pirates, loyalty level 83%. Base of operation. Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal, the Crypt, the Silent Reaper familiars. Nightmare, forest dragon. Whoa, how did my skill level go up? His heart almost skipped a beat when he saw his status. The first thing he saw was his skill levels. They were raised by 1 level without him paying badass points to upgrade. The host should thank the system for converting the excess first energy you absorbed from the Hydra egg and upgrading the skills. The system sounded extremely boastful, but underneath its boastful voice, he sensed a hint of joy. He wondered why though. The Eyes of Darkness and Cloud of Darkness has Lucifer in brackets dash. You can only use them in your Lucifer persona. Before even he could finish his thoughts, the system answered, interrupting him. And yes, the system counts the entire crew of the Silent Reaper as one entity. Yet again, the system took the liberty to answer the question he never asked but only thought. And no, until you name your Hydra, it won't show up under familiars. Are you trying to piss me off, system? Hee. The last thing he heard was the system chuckling before getting kicked out of the system menu. After getting kicked out of the system by the 4th time, he didn't feel as mad as he felt the first time. Besides, he was curious to use his powers once again. Michael closed his eyes for a second, activating the Cloud of Darkness and the Eyes of Darkness. Casting those spells felt easy as breathing. Soon, Gaia saw the black smoke enveloping him. Through the black smoke, she saw his eyes that were literally on fire. A dark crimson-red fire. Looking into his eyes, her body slightly trembled in fear. The fear was faint, yet it was there. She shook her head to break the fear in her heart. Is that all you got? She stretched her hands like she was exhausted, waiting for him to show his powers. I don't want to hurt your snaky ass, that's all. Yeah, you wish. Golden barrier. Gaia flicked her wrist as a faint golden light enveloped her. The golden light might be faint, but Michael could sense an immense amount of power thanks to his Eyes of Darkness. The spell she cast was very similar to his own spell, Responsive Shield, which could now stop the attacks of anyone under the core formation stage. Pretty awesome, huh? This is one of the many legendary spells I possess. Interesting. Michael knew this must be a legendary spell after sensing the power it radiated. This spell will grow stronger with my cultivation level. Currently, no one under the core strengthening stage could break the shield. Also, it will stun the attacker for a few seconds, giving me time to cleave his or her head off. Let me give it a shot. She saw the dark smoke and the fire in his eyes vanish into thin air. First, Michael wanted to test the strength of his powers in his normal form before transforming into his Dark Lord form, Lucifer. Lightning dash. He closed the distance between them in a blink of an eye. Gaia was extremely surprised by his speed. Every time he uses the lightning dash, she could see his figure, but right at this moment, she only saw a blur in the place where he was just a second ago. Just like Gaia, the Hydra was also able to see only the after image. When he got close enough to Gaia, she punched the shield as strong as he could without using only his raw strength. Boom. The moment his fist connected with the shield, a loud booming sound reverberated through the open air. Why are they fighting? Captain. See, gods bless me, whoa. The pirates who were watching them shouted when they saw Michael flinging away from Gaia like a kite in the storm. His body only came to a stop from 50 meters away from Gaia. His right hand hurt like hell as he looked down to see bones sticking out of his fist while blood oozed through the wounds. Despite the APD injecting healing potion into his bloodstream, he experienced excruciating pain in his right arm. Yet on his face, one could not see an expression of someone who's going through immense pain. On the contrary, his lips curled upwards. Are you alright? Of course he's not, you idiot. Look at his arm, the white head replied after Gaia shouted at Michael. The silver head showed a look of concern in its eyes. Unlike these two, the black head calmly watched Michael, noticing his arm recovering at an inhuman speed. Although she knew the backlash wouldn't do much harm to him, looking at his arm bleed hurt her heart. Soon, she heaved a sigh of relief inside after she noticed his arm getting back to its normal shape. I'm not impressed, she shouted again to rile him up. I haven't even started yet. Death range. The area around him turned darker. He could feel his strength doubling up, but he still didn't take his full Lucifer form. Lightning dash. Yet again he activated his speed spell to get closer to Gaia. The pirates watching him from the ship only saw a dark trail. Before they could blink an eye, he reached Gaia. Did you notice that? His speed almost doubled, the white head whispered to the other two heads. Boom. Wasting no time, he took another shot at the golden barrier. This time when his fist met the barrier, A couple of tiny cracks appeared in the barrier where he punched. The backlash again sent Michael flinging away, but not as bad as before. He came to a stop after 20 meters. There was a deep shock in her eyes, noticing the cracks in the shield. This was not supposed to happen. No one except a core strengthening stage cultivator could damage the shield. Yet he managed to do just that. Why am I not surprised? He's my better half for a reason. The shock in her eyes gradually got replaced by pride and excitement. Plus, she was with him long enough to know that there's nothing impossible when it comes to him. Don't say you're impressed with that little show, Michael snickered. What if we can do all that magic-y shit? The fuck we can. I still have no clue how our captain and the Dark Queen using magic inside the void line. We are lucky to be his crew. Gibson said the captain is planning to take over the continent. Just imagine how much gold we earn doing nothing if the captain managed to do that. Go captain! Hey! The pirates began to cheer in excitement from the ship. Ignoring their cheers, he closed his eyes to take his full Lucifer form, aka the Dark Lord form. The black cloud enveloped him while his eyes began to emit crimson-red fire. His newfound skill let him cast spells without uttering a word. Thanks to that skill, he just had to think about death range as the area around him grew darker and darker. The area around him was almost pitch black. Even the sparkling moonlight couldn't shine inside his death range. To this moment, he had zero clues on how the Hydra egg was able to make him stronger and unlock his Dark Lord powers. He knew eventually he would get all the answers from the system. Until then, he was glad to unleash the powers within him because in this world where the strong prey on the weak, growing stronger is all that mattered to him. Until now, he was like an ant compared to his enemies. That would change from this moment as from now on his enemies would witness what the Dark Lord is capable of. Whoa! Gaia was taken aback by surprise when he suddenly appeared before her. She was waiting for him to cast the speed spell, but she heard no words escaping his mouth before he appeared in front of her. Back away! The Blackhead shouted at Gaia, sensing the upcoming danger. But it was too late as Michael's fist already connected with the golden barrier. Boom! This time, the barrier shattered into millions of golden dots. He stayed in the same spot except this time. The shock wave produced by the clash sent Gaia flinging away. Due to the force, she dropped the Hydra in her hand before flying away. Fuck! The white head screamed, but Michael quickly caught the Hydra in his hand. Chapter 264. He caught the Hydra on his way to Gaia. She was throwing up blood because of the backlash of the clash between Michael's fist and the golden barrier. Fortunately, she had her APD filled with a 90% pure healing potion to heal her organs immediately. Otherwise, she would have suffered more than just coughing up blood. Impressed now, Michael wrapped his arm around her shoulder with a gentle smile on his face. He himself never expected his power to reach the core strengthening stage in his complete Lucifer form. Apparently, after activating the Cloud of Darkness and the Eyes of Darkness, he could fight head-to-head with a core strengthening stage warrior, and even defeat them. Even without taking his full Lucifer form, no one in the core formation stage could inflict a wound on him, let alone defeat him. By breaking Gaia's golden barrier, he grasped the extent of his current powers except for one thing. Gradually the fire in his eyes and the dark cloud around him disappeared. "When did you bastard reach the core strengthening stage?" she said, spitting out the remaining blood in her mouth. "I didn't. It's just my full Lucifer form temporarily boosting my power to core strengthening stage." After wiping off the blood on the corner of her lips, she gave him a friendly punch in the gut. "Give them to you, have enough op stuff as it is." She swooped the Hydra off of his hand. "Don't you think we should name them?" Michael asked. If they didn't name the Hydra, the system would keep bitch about it and never accept the Hydra as Michael's familiar. "Oh, come up with perfect names for these little fellas." She playfully rubbed each of the Hydra's heads. Except for the silver head, which nudged her hand with love, the white and the black head tried to chew her hand with their tiny little teeth. "Quit chewing my fingers, little fuckers," she chuckled. Just by looking at the way she was looking at the Hydra, he could tell that she has taken quite a liking to the Hydra. He could imagine these two fighting with Nightmare every single day after they return home. "Hey, look over there." As they were hovering in the air, the white said, raising its voice. Michael removed his hands from Gaia's shoulder before noticing 3 warships moving towards the direction of Ross' ship. From the distance, it seemed they were moving in a triangle formation. The ship moving in the front was slightly bigger than the two behind it. The moonlight illuminated their white flags with the symbol of two red swords in X shape. All three ships were galleons fully fitted with powerful cannons to do some nasty damage to any hostile ships. Are those pirates? Considering she knew very little about pirates in the southern continent, she didn't recognize ships by the flags. His crew would have if they were floating higher in the sky with them. The three ships were too far to get noticed by the normal human eyes. Plus, the night made it extremely harder for Michael's crew to spot the ships on the horizon. We should follow them, Gaia said what he just thought in his mind. He wanted to see where the pirates were going in the middle of the night. Somehow he had a feeling that they weren't sightseeing. Before we do that, he began to descend from the sky towards the Silent Reaper. He didn't want to step on the stinking ship until they cleaned the heck out of it, except now he had to warn them before following the three ships. Otherwise, there might be a chance of some other pirates ambushing the Silent Reaper while he's away. As much as he hated to admit it, he didn't think his crew was smart enough to survive an ambush even with a ship like the Silent Reaper. They obviously didn't understand its full potential or value. Otherwise, they would have at least kept her clean enough to be inhabited by normal human beings. Captain, that was awesome. You too, Lady Captain. Ow, what in the hell is that beast? Shoo, they almost forgot the task in the hand in the excitement of seeing Michael unleash his powers. Why am I not seeing a clean ship? I bet something's wrong with my eyes. The pirates looked at each other while scratching the back of their heads like clueless chickens. Their silly faces reminded him of the crew of Captain Barbossa in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. He could never get mad enough to break pirate bones. Gibson, he enhanced his voice through arch energy so Gibson cleaning the below decks could hear him. After a few minutes he called Gibson. He ran to Michael's side with a couple of pirates. Michael was happy to see them drenched in sweat and covered in soapy bubbles. At least some of you've been doing the cleaning. The pirates down below, fortunately, didn't hear the noises produced by Michael and Gaia testing his powers. Gibson and the three behind him gawked at their fellow pirates with confused looks on their faces. They stared at the upper deck to see if they've done any works, but everything is just as they were. Follow me to the south side of the island, he ordered Gibson before taking off from the ship once again. Gibson wanted to ask why, but Michael was already far away from a shout reach. You heard the captain, man the handle. Michael and Gaia were keeping a safe distance from the three ships. All three ships had a pirate on the crow's nest as a lookout. Even though they were flying in the sky above them, there was a chance of the lookout to spot them. First, he wanted to see what the pirates are up to before he approached them. From the sky, he could see 30 heavy cannons, 2 mortars, a bunch of smaller cannons on swivel posts at various positions on the top deck on each ship. Plus, each of them had 35 crew members on the top deck, and he could guess there would be at least another 30 in the lower deck. In total, he might face almost 200 pirates as well as 90 heavy cannons when or if they decide to pull a pretty stupid move and attack him. After following them for another 15 minutes, he saw a familiar shore, the shore he stepped on with Ross and his teammates. Ross' crew were still waiting for him to return without a clue about what happened to them. Suddenly, he saw the lookouts standing on the crow's nest whistling. Soon, the lanterns lighting the ships were put out by the pirates as they went dark. They're planning an ambush, aren't they? The whitehead asked as Gaia nodded. She looked at Michael to see what they should do next. Let's go a little closer. Since they put out the lights, he could move in closer without getting detected by the pirates. Not that he was afraid of them, he was just being careful as he always was. Michael silently moved towards the ship leading the formation because if there was an important figure leading the ambush, 90% of the time, he or she would choose the bigger ship to be. When he was directly above the ship, he looked down to see a person wearing a huge maroon color hat manning the helm. My Gaia raised her brows looking at the person at the helm. If not for the deep cleavage, she wouldn't have guessed that the person is actually a woman. The pirate woman stood at nearly 5 feet 8 inches tall, and she would at least weigh 100 kilograms. She seemed like she could smother a man between her breasts to death. Stop! Michael halted moving forward when the woman looked up at the sky. The pirate woman had a round face with a softly shaped jaw, a stubby nose, large ears, smooth cheeks and big thick lips. Her azure eyes were large, and she had thick eyebrows. Her dark gray hair, lightly streaked with shades of brown, was short, straight, styled in decorative cornrows. She wore excessive foundation to hide her blemishes, pinkish lipstick, and pastel eyeliner. Even in the darkness, one could see the red coating on her lips. Other than the excessive makeup, she had a muscular neck, wide shoulders, big chubby arms, a long torso with very large breasts with a defined waist, wide hips, toned legs, and average-sized feet. She just wore simple clothes, a white full-sleeve shirt rolled up to her elbow with a black vest. Apart from the piercing on her left eyebrow, a couple of gold chains decorated her neck. What made Michael interested in this woman was not the fact she might be the captain, but there were no weapons on her body or anywhere near her. Interesting, Michael mumbled. Although she had no weapons, his instincts told him this woman is a dangerous person. Because when she looked up, he saw her eyes. They were the eyes of a killer. She was practically masking the cruelty in her heart from showing up on her face with all the makeup. Captain Marina, that's the ship. Michael saw a man walking towards the woman, pointing at Ross' ship. Fun time. The woman slowly put a pipe in her mouth as the man quickly lit a match to lit her pipe. The light illuminated the man's face, revealing his identity to Michael. So he brought friends. Do you know him? Gaia asked. He was the pirate captain who lost more than half of his crew to me. Now it seems he has returned to avenge them. You know, it would be nice if you guys and gals leave a comment after reading the chapter. Your comments are what drives me to write more. Chapter 265. Humph. Some fucking pirate captain you are to lose your crew to some snobby northern kid. They are practically naked after crossing the void line, Marina snickered, showing her disappointment in Packard Chameleon Crane. His defeat brought great shame to all the other pirate captains serving Pirate Lord Corey Witch-Drachen, one of the 3 pirates' lords. The pirate lords controlled most of the southern sea. They practically ruled the ocean as well as the many islands in the sea. The 3 pirate lords had combined naval power higher than the southern continent kingdoms. Hence, the Senate avoided crossing them even though the pirates kept plundering many merchant ships. Each pirate lord had several pirate captains serving them. The pirates who don't serve anyone, such as the Silent Reaper, were called the rogues. The pirate captain serving a pirate lord was free to plunder the rogues as they wished. If a pirate captain serving a pirate lord attacked another pirate who served another pirate lord, the pirate lords would investigate the attack until they found the wrongdoer. The wrongdoer would then get the punishment called the sinner's funeral. This was the only time one could see the pirate lords appear together in their ships. No one got the sinner's funeral in the last 100 years, which showed that the pirates could follow the rules unlike the Southerners believe. One could even say that the pirates had a miniature version of democracy within them. Just like the sinner's funeral, no outsider has killed the pirate crew of a pirate lord in many decades until Michael massacred them mercilessly. Which was the reason Marina appeared to avenge the crew under the orders of Pirate Lord Corey. In the hierarchy of pirate captains, Maria stood at the top. She was one of the most feared pirate captains of the Southern Sea. Captain Marina, he was not normal. How could a normal human being heal himself just like that? Packard had been blabbering, running his mouth about Michael's healing ability to everyone on the Witch Island. The matter even reached the ears of Corey herself. To see if Packard's been telling the truth, Corey ordered Marina to capture Michael alive. Let's see if he can heal like you said when I'm done with him. She crunched her knuckles with an evil smile on her face. Something sparkled in her eyes. Is this gonna be another disappointment? Marina asked herself. They were sailing towards Ross' ship without an idea of Michael following them from above. Remember our task at hand, maggots. We want the one called David alive. The rest of them could go to hell. Aye aye, Captain. The muffled cries of Marina's pirates reverberated the ship. The pirates quickly moved towards their posts to start the ambush. The 3 galleons began to circle Ross' ship. They were going to flank the ship in a triangle shape. Don't kill them. Michael glanced at the 2 ships in the near distance, telling Gaia to take care of them. You sure you don't want me to kill them? It's no fun, she pouted before flying towards the 2 ships. For a few moments, he just kept hovering over Marina's ship before slowly descending from the sky. Huh. What is that? The pirate standing on the crow's nest noticed a black figure moving towards them. He couldn't clearly identify the object due to the darkness. A ghost? The pirate's hands shivered as he slowly reached for the lantern hanging on the wooden pole. He wanted to light the lantern to see the object in light. But before he could light the lantern, the object got too close to the ship. Since the pirates firmly believe in superstitious things, the first thing that came to his mind is the ghost. Ghost! The pirate screamed until his throat hurt. Immediately Marina's gaze turned towards the crow's nest. The word ghost made the other pirates shudder in fear. Intruder! When Michael landed on the deck, they could see that they weren't dealing with a ghost but another human being. Are you looking for me? They only heard his voice. The night's darkness prevented them from clearly seeing his face. But that changed when Michael conjured his green alchemy flames in his hand. The green flames were bright enough to light up the entire ship. It's him. Packard pointed his finger at Michael, screaming frantically because of the sudden fear he just experienced. How? How did he? Fire. What kind of fire is that? Where did he come from? Many questions were running through their heads after seeing him suddenly appear on the deck before them. Marina left the helm while a pirate in her ship lit a lantern to signal the other two ships to stop. Well, I'll be honest. I have no idea how did you manage to come here, but I say this, you have some balls. Too. Actually, Marina saw no fear on his face. He leaned on the wooden pole leisurely while the green flames somehow hovered beside him, lighting the ship jade green. Even from standing 10 meters away from him, she could feel the heat being emitted by the orb of jade green fire. Marina slowly walked down the stairs, adjusting her shirt. The pirates slowly reached for their cutlasses before unsheathing them. Michael still remained calm because no matter how many cutlasses or crews they have, he could defeat them with a couple of wind blasts. He was curious about what Marina could do. The pirates looked so afraid of her, and Michael wanted to know why they are for a woman without any weapons. I've been hearing some weird things about you, kid. It seems some of them might actually be true. Just like Marina saw no fear on Michael's face, he too saw no fear on her face, which surprised Michael. I bet that armor of yours will fetch us a nice amount of gold. After all, that's the least you can do for us for dragging me this far. Didn't he say I literally crushed his crew to death? A hint of fear emerged in Packard's eyes when Michael said that. He also noticed some pirates clenching their teeth in anger. He figured that there might be some relatives among the pirates he killed. You're not going to fight them, you're going to fight me, she crunched her knuckles. He creased his brows because she acted like she wanted him to fight him hand to hand. She removed her hat, revealing her dark gray hair. Stand down, maggots. This will be womano a mano this time. Michael was stunned by her words. As far as he could tell, she's either stupid or extremely confident in her fighting ability. Either way, he decided to agree with the woman's bizarre decision. The pirates immediately lowered their weapons as an evil grin appeared on Packard's face. What makes you think you can beat me? Michael asked, smiling at her. Boom. Instead of answering Michael, she just punched the sail pole beside her. Her fist obliterated the wooden pole into blisters as the entire ship trembled. The sailcloth flew into the water, leaving the ship with one less sail. Yet again Michael was stunned by this woman. It was impossible for a normal human being to possess such strength, unless she's not normal. At this moment his curiosity reached a new peak. He focused his gaze on this woman, but as expected, there wasn't a single trace of arch energy in her body. System, scan her body. I want to know how she managed to destroy the pole with a single punch. 2,000 badass points required to scan her. Take it. It will take 15 minutes. So I have 15 minutes to play with her. The pirates moved away to make a space in the middle of the ship. He's dead. Here we go. It has been so long since we saw Captain beat the shit out of someone. I don't know, man. Everything about him rubs me in the wrong way. The pirates began to chit-chat while Michael walked towards the center. The woman snapped her fingers as the pirates lit all the lanterns they previously put out. Michael's alchemy fires vanished into thin air, surprising many pirates. What's going on there? I'm done with one ship. Get it done. I'm gonna play for a while. Who are you talking to? You'll know soon. Now shall we start? Michael cracked his neck waiting for Marina to make her first move. Standing on the opposite side, she moved one leg behind, raising her fist like a boxer. Whoosh. The very next moment, she dashed at him with extreme speed. He slightly moved his body, evading her fist. Although he evaded her punch, Her speed stunned him. For a big woman, she was very agile and fast. With a swift twist, she turned her body before throwing a punch at him again. This time Michael didn't evade her punch, but raised his palm. Boom. The moment Michael's palm and her big fist clashed, it produced a loud booming sound. The force of the clash sent both of them sliding backward. Michael's hand felt numb after stopping her punch. For a moment, his brain thought he was being hit by a raging bull. "You're still in one piece," she sounded surprised. "That's all you got?" Michael wanted to see the full extent of her strength, so he riled her up. If Southerners could not cultivate, how was she this strong? That was the question running in his mind. She dashed forward again, but this time, she was rapidly throwing punches and kicks at him. If it was before he learned the new fighting technique from Gaia and trained himself like hell, Marina might have landed some blows to him. Since that was not the case anymore, he evaded and dodged every single punch and kick of Marina. He felt like dancing with her while the other pirates stared at them in utter shock. As time went by, their fighting area expanded to the entire ship. H. She began to scream like an enraged beast as Michael felt her strength growing exponentially. Good, let it all out. Chapter 266. Even after she went berserk, Marina was unable to hit him at least once. While dodging and evading her punches, the two of them reached the ship's front corner. Seeing him cornered, she grinned. "Let's end this little dance, shall we?" Michael decided to end this little fight after successfully gauging her strength. Death range, he knew he couldn't defeat her with just his raw strength. Hence, he cast the death range to enhance his strength. The moment he used the spell, the entire ship grew darker regardless of the lantern lights. Marina's eyes went wide as she realized that he just used magic. The overwhelming joy and shock prevented her muscles from moving. Boom. Michael punched her right in the abdomen with enough force to send her flying from one end of the ship to another. She literally traveled in the air, breaking all the poles in the ship before hitting the wall beside the captain's cabin door. "Captain! Captain Marina!" The crew members and Packard screamed. Their bodies shuddered in shock as they stared at Marina's body with wide eyes. "Dark. Dark. Lord," the words barely escaped her mouth. Despite the blood flowing out of her mouth, she was smiling. Her eyes contained a tint of delight. The others might haven't heard the words she spoke, but Michael did. It completely took him by surprise. He was about to take a step forward when he noticed something glowing on her chest. "The system has finished scanning. The system has found a radioactive medallion on her chest. It doesn't harm her body as a radioactive material would do on Earth, but this medallion strengthens her body from the molecular level." He didn't need help finding the medallion. It was glowing in bright jade color on her chest. Locking his eyes on the medallion, he activated the lightning dash to reach her in a blink of an eye. "Captain!" "Wind blast!" The pirates rushed at Michael when he reached Maria as they thought he's going to kill her. They tried to protect Maria, but the wind blast blasted some of them into the water, while the others to every corner of the ship. He squatted down before Marina to take a closer look at the medallion. The medallion on her neck was the size of a coin. There was no etching or designs could be seen on the surface except for one letter, L. First, he used it to spread the name of Lucifer by leaving an L mark on the crime scenes. Then he realized the Order of the Death has been using the symbol way before he was even born, as the symbol was everywhere in the abyssal, and now he saw the same symbol once again on the medallion. "Dark Lord. It's you. Where did you get this?" She tried to answer, yet the pain in her abdomen prevented her from speaking. He willed the system to give him a healing potion from the system storage. "Drink this." Michael poured the healing potion into her mouth, not gently though, as he needed answers quicker. Almost half of the potion trickled out of her mouth. Considering the potion was 90% pure, her pain began to dissipate in a few seconds. She started to breathe as normal. Soon, she pulled herself up to kneel before him. Michael stood up, trying not to show the confusion in his heart on his face. "Order of the Death, Dark Lord. This medallion had been passed on to us from our ancestors." "Your ancestors served the Order?" She still kept her head lower without looking directly into his eyes. "Yes, Dark Lord. We've been waiting for you to lead us. We never stopped searching for you. If I hadn't found you, My kin would have continued the search. He was pretty confused about the sudden turn of events. The last thing he expected was to find a descendant of someone who served the Order of the Death, the same order that apparently worshipped him as a god. Dark Lord, please take this. My father said this will prove our loyalty to you. She presented him with the medallion after snatching it from her neck. He took the medallion from her hand expecting some kind of change in the coin, but on the contrary, he never felt anything except the coin glowed brighter in his hand. Michael willed the system to create an invisible barrier around them for 1,000 badass points so none would hear their conversation. I, Maxine Kane, swear my loyalty to our God the Dark Lord. From this day onwards am yours to command. Does the host wish to accept Maxine Kane as your subordinate? The system prompted him when he finished taking her oath. Yes, he wanted to check her loyalty level. Although he never sensed any treachery vibe from her, he still wanted to make sure this wasn't a trap created by those pesky old guardians. Subordinate, Maxine Kane cultivation level. Arch sensing stage level 2, cannot cast spells due to geological restrictions. Race, human status, healthy trait, warrior loyalty towards the host, 95%. It is true. There was no better proof than the system's loyalty meter to prove Maxine's loyalty to him. Her loyalty also showed him that what she said about her ancestors is also true. If he could, he really wanted to meet those people who worshipped him as God and searched for him for thousands of years. He wondered what made them devote themselves to him. Serve me well, Maxine. He placed his hands on her shoulders, helping her stand up. Her eyes brimmed with joy as tears of joy already began to flow out. She looked at him as a devotee would look like her God. He could tell that if he asked her to kill herself, she would without a second thought. The pirates, on the other hand, were confused as hell, witnessing their captain bending her knee to Michael. After getting blasted by Michael, no one dared to utter a word and make a move. The question of how he used magic made the pirates feel dizzy. How long have you been searching for me? Ever since I was old enough to walk, Dark Lord. My father always said that the Dark Lord will lead this world to a better age. Your father is correct. Where is he now? The smile on her face gradually faded away. He died of old age, Dark Lord, he sighed inside. If the old man was still alive, he could have answered some of his questions about the Order and their secrets. Still, Michael was glad that he found another loyal subordinate. Do you know anyone else from the Order? If Maxine, a descendant of the Order, was alive and still loyal to him, he wanted to see if there are more descendants like her. No, Dark Lord. My father said after the Supreme Guardian destroyed the Order, only a few survived and escaped. According to my father, those who escaped went dark. It was the right decision. Otherwise, the Guardians would have found them and finished what they started. However, if you're here, we cannot say for sure there are no other descendants alive. The only question is, do they know who they are? Even if he were to find them, he wouldn't force the descendants to serve him if they were unwilling. After all, he wasn't a slave master, and those descendants weren't his slaves. However, if there was a chance that those descendants were still searching for him like Maxine, he had to find them. He would rather have a few loyal subordinates than a bunch of unloyal powerful people as his subordinates. Although Maxine would not stand a chance against cultivators, he had the system to change that. If he couldn't make a southerner powerful enough to face a cultivator, he wouldn't have come to the southern continent, as there was no point in building an army that could be destroyed by a couple of cultivators. I assume your father told you that you cannot serve two lords. You're the only one I serve, Dark Lord. I was using Pirate Lord Corey's resources to locate you. Did you search for me in the other continents too? Yet again she shook her head. We believed that only the Dark Lord could break the cultivation restriction and use magic inside the void line. My father always said it'd be easier to find you here than in any other continent. Your father sounds like a great man. Michael genuinely praised her father. If they were to search for him anywhere but here, it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. It was a different story in the southern continent, as her father believed. He was the only one who could use and make others use arch energy inside the void line. I would like to meet Pirate Lord Corey. It'd be my honor to take you to Corey with me, Dark Lord. I just hope we didn't damage the ship too much. She scratched the back of her head with an embarrassed look on her face. It's okay, we'll use my ship. She looked around to see any new ships. Gibson, You can come out, Michael talked with Gibson through the earpiece. She was confused, wondering who he was talking to. Soon, Maxine felt a tremble under her feet as the sea around them rippled violently. Whoosh! Her eyes almost bulged out when a ship emerged from the sea suddenly before their eyes. Compared to the Silent Reaper, Maxine's ship looked tiny. The ship's look itself intimidated the pirates. Michael slowly ascended to the air. Meet my ship, the Silent Reaper, Maxine. Chapter 267. And don't call me Dark Lord. This is not the right time to take my mantle. Just call me Lord Lucifer. Hovering in the mid-air, Michael ordered Maxine. Yes, Lord Lucifer. He didn't fly directly to the Silent Reaper, but stared at the shivering pirates on the deck. Packard's legs kept trembling. All of his senses were overwhelmed by pure fear. Are they loyal to you or Corey? I give you my word, Lord Lucifer. They are loyal to me, no one else. Without a second thought, Maxine vouched for the pirates. Except him, I presume. He glanced at Packard. As expected, Maxine nodded because Packard was not a pirate serving her, but another pirate captain who served Corey. Kill him. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. No. No. Don't kill me. Don't. Maxine's gaze sent a chill running through Packard's spine. He started to shiver frantically while walking backward. He kept walking until he tripped on a piece of wood. You should be proud to give your life to Lord Lucifer, Packard. Accept your death with dignity. The pirates surrounded Packard, restricting him from retreating any further. Michael calmly watched the scene without interfering. He wanted to compare Maxine with the native citizens of the southern continent. Look, something's going over there. Who is that fatty? Shoo, do you want the captain to get more pissed off at us? Why isn't the captain making any moves? And where is the Dark Queen? Michael's crew began to chit-chat looking down at Maxine's ship. They were afraid of Michael noticing them as they still haven't cleaned the ship yet. Still, they couldn't stop themselves from watching the entertainment. I hope you shitheads are sightseeing after cleaning the ship spotless. The Silent Reaper crew felt a chill when they suddenly heard Dark Queen's voice coming from behind. They slowly turned back to see her floating in the air above the captain's cabin. Hey worms, how's it going? Shorty came out of the captain's cabin with a bucket in his hand. He had no idea Gaia was floating above his head. I have a great idea. We should keep the door open, submerge into the sea and emerge again. Tada. Captain's cabin cleaned. Shorty laughed. The other pirates rolled their eyeballs up to signal Shorty, yet their efforts were in vain. Great fucking idea. Remind me to drown you next time to make you stink less. What the? Shorty's eyes went wide as he slowly turned back to see her floating in the air. He let out an embarrassed smile. New. Boom. Suddenly a screaming noise reverberated in the area, followed by a loud booming sound. Gaia moved forward while the pirates turned back again. What happened here? The whitehead asked, looking at the broken poles as well as the broken wooden pieces lying on the ship's deck before them. Along with the destroyed objects, they noticed a headless body lying in a pool of blood. Who is she? Gaia saw a chubby woman standing in front of the headless body, wiping the blood off of her fist with her shirt. Maxine's pirates were too focused on Packard's body, as they almost failed to notice Gaia floating beside Michael. A descendant of the Order, Gaia was genuinely surprised after hearing Michael's words. She scanned the plump woman from top to bottom. Did she have anything to prove herself? Instead of explaining, he showed Gaia the medallion. With a single glance at the coin, she recognized the symbol. Trust me, she's loyal. Why did she kill him? The silver head looked at the headless body with pity in its eyes. The other two heads, however, remained indifferent. Because you should always kill your enemies, no mercy. After killing Packard with a single punch, she turned back to see another figure in black armor floating in the sky. She could tell the person is a female, but unlike Lucifer, Maxine was unable to see her face as she wore a mask. Regardless of the mask, Maxine could feel the woman's gaze on her. Maxine's instincts told her that this person is just as powerful and dangerous as Lord Lucifer himself. Her father and his ancestors only told her about the Dark Lord, but not a single word about this woman. Tell your people to come to Giselle Kingdom. Well, go there in my ship. Considering the damage Maxine's ship took from the initial battle between her and Michael, he knew they can't keep up with the Silent Reaper or the other two ships. Therefore, he ordered Maxine to get aboard his ship. You heard Lord Lucifer. Fix the ship and move your asses to Giselle. Yes. Yes, Captain. The next moment, Gaia flicked her wrist as Maxine felt her body become lighter. She was taken aback by surprise looking at her feet moving up from the ground. I'm flying, she mumbled. In a few seconds, she reached high enough in the air where the pirates looked smaller. When she landed on Michael's ship, Maxine saw the crew gawking at her curiously, especially a short guy with a bucket. Captain, we just need a couple of more hours to clean your cabin. Gibson came to his side drenched in water and soapy bubbles. His white shirt turned brown thanks to the mess he cleaned in lower decks. Lord Lucifer, is this the Silent Reaper? The cursed ship? Yes, and not cursed anymore. Yet again the Dark Lord made her heart skip a beat. The Silent Reaper was a legend known only for a few people. They all thought the curse was unbreakable, yet here she was standing on the Silent Reaper with the Dark Lord. Her devotion towards the Dark Lord reached a new peak. She only wished her father was here to meet the Dark Lord. While they were on the deck, Michael saw Heimberg stepping out of the lower deck. He made his way towards Michael. Good, you're here. Follow me, Gaia. Heimberg and Maxine followed him behind into the captain's cabin while Shorty prayed that the captain doesn't get mad at him for doing a half-assed job of cleaning the cabin. When Michael entered the cabin, it wasn't as stinky as before and the cabin looked somewhat cleaner. Ignoring the room's hygiene for a moment, Michael walked towards the oak table in the center. Heimberg, tell me about Giselle. According to Heimberg, the kingdom of Giselle was a huge country with a population of almost 25,000 including races other than humans. Bordered between a marsh to the north, a wild sea to the south, a mountain range to the east, and a marsh to the west, the kingdom of Giselle was mainly living off woodcrafting, weaponsmithing, and wine brewing. Giselle itself was mainly covered in mountains and has a warm climate, which has led to a freely spread population, despite the number of people, which meant most of them lived in small villages and islands. The kingdom's landscape was delicate. Green, open fields, sapphire lakes, and mellow rivers were just a sliver of the magnificence Giselle has to offer, which was why the country is cherished among foreigners. Heimberg told them that the citizens of Giselle, mainly the nobles, were selfish towards foreigners and tended to welcome them with irritation. Apparently, they were thinking foreigners could inhibit the country's well-being. Giselle had moderate laws and law enforcement, which was fairly normal. The people were troubled due to the undead island, and they had been asking the Senate to do something permanent. Giselle's army contained 3,000 soldiers including cavalry armed with bombs, shields, and swords. The infantry was also armed with various types of bombs such as smoke bombs, flash bombs. Other than the cavalry and infantry, Heimberg mentioned that the kingdom has two elite units, archers and Spartans. The archers were equipped with various types of arrows as well as different types of bows for different types of situations. This piqued Gaia's curiosity. She wanted to see what kind of bow they were using. The Spartans, on the other hand, were highly trained killing machines, according to Heimberg. The kingdom only had 250 Spartans, and they would only enter the battlefield as the last resort. The ranks were also filled with many other regiments, including allied soldiers, as well as slave soldiers, including various charging units, units of war animals, several defensive units, and many medical units. What about the naval army? How many warships do they have? 10 warships. Only 10? Michael was confused. Lord Lucifer, this is because of the agreement between the senates and the pirate lords. Seeing Michael's confused look, Maxine explained. The agreement is a short one, to be honest. If a kingdom built more than 10 warships, the pirate lords view it as a sign of provocation, and sent their fleet to plunder their cities until the kingdom submits. So you're saying the pirate lords can take over any kingdom with its naval power? Gaia asked. No, unless a kingdom gives a reason such as building more than 10 warships, the pirate lords don't interfere with a kingdom's business. That's why the kingdoms in the southern continent leave the pirates alone, so they will do the same in return. The merchant ships and some poor bastards are just fish food to keep the shark away from their borders. Besides, some kingdoms have armies powerful enough to take on a pirate lord. No one likes war, so there wasn't one in many decades. They all agreed with Maxine, although Michael could tell the peace between the kingdoms and the pirates was a delicate one. There will be one soon, Gaia shrugged, playing with the hydra in her hand. Chapter 268. All right, the two of you should stay outside for the night. Only Heimberg understood the meaning of his words considering he spent some time in the guest room on the lower deck. Heimberg saw nicer prisons than their guest room. He almost wished he received a knockout drug to lose consciousness like Logan and Jonah. Make yourself at home, Maxine. I'm home, Lord Lucifer. Her eyes welled up again. Even Gaia, who didn't have the system to show Maxine's loyalty level, could see the devotion in her eyes. With Maxine, they took the first step in building a loyal army, a powerful loyal army. After Maxine exited the room, Michael looked around at his empty room. There were still some dust spots, cobwebs, and dirt on the walls as well as the floor, especially on the places where the book racks and statues were before. You know, Gaia slowly walked towards him, speaking in a husky voice. I wanted to show you something. She wrapped her hand around his chest. He could feel her hot breath near his ear. I have a bad feeling about this, the whitehead complained. When Michael turned to face her, they were stuck between them. Luckily for the Hydra, Gaia put them on the table beside her before wrapping her both arms around Michael's neck. Why don't we take your mask off? He pulled Gaia closer by her waist. His intentions were obvious at this point. HMKM, she gently shook her head, while closing his lips with her fingers. Come with me. She wiggled herself out of his hold. Then she scooped off the Hydra from the table before walking towards the door as Michael followed her behind. When he opened the door, the first person standing outside was Gibson with a couple of pirates behind him. Maxine was lying on the ship's far end with the hat covering her face. By the looks of it, she seemed deep in sleep. I want my room spotless when I come back, as he said. He took off from the ship to the sky with Gaia. Looking at them fly gives me chills every time. Shorty looked up at them disappearing into the clouds. Until the pirates met Michael, they wished nothing but freedom from the curse. Now after witnessing the cools they did, many including Shorty wanted to become cultivators. They would have asked them if it wasn't for Gibson. The old man warned them that if they want to become cultivators, they should first quit drinking like animals. He also said the captain will ask you to quit drinking first before starting training them. For many pirates, quitting drinking was a deal breaker. But not for Shorty. Where are you taking me? Michael broke his silence after flying higher and higher into the sky. Be patient, dear, she chuckled. Her focus was on flying higher. She could see the clouds getting closer and closer. While leading Michael to her destination, she failed to notice him slowing down. I like the view from here. Michael's gaze was fixed on Gaia's body. The beautiful moon or the sparkling stars didn't get his attention as much as she got. As far as he was concerned, he would be happier staring at her perfect hourglass structure than appreciating nature's beauty. Since he was too deeply focused on her body, he failed to notice the Hydra climbing on her body to reach her shoulders. He's checking out your butt. Not only the whitehead betrayed him, but it also stuck its tongue out to tease him. What? Gaia immediately turned back to see his eyes were on her instead of the beautiful night sky. When he first told her that he's liking the view, she really thought he was appreciating the night sky. Only now she realized that he was checking out her instead of enjoying what nature has to offer. Hey, don't blame me. It was you who chose to fly before me. He didn't act like he wasn't checking her out. Instead, he just spoke his mind. After all, they had both accepted each other as their better halves. Staring at each other like they were in a Mexican standoff, they flew past the clouds which spread across the blue sky like a blanket of snow. The moment they flew through the snow-like clouds, the vibrant light of the moon drew both their gazes like a magnet. Michael's jaw almost dropped, looking at the view in front of him. He felt like he was inside a painting. Millions of sparkling stars decorated the bluish sky like gems. The moonlight shone platinum gold amid the starlight heaven. The last couple of weeks were tense, especially to Michael. When he first came to this world, his goal was to use the system to get rich and powerful enough to enjoy his life to the fullest. Never in a million years had he thought someone put him in this world to save it. But he wasn't going to change into a complete good guy on a savior drug. No matter what, he wouldn't change his plans of ruling this world from the shadows, getting filthy rich, and living a long, long life enjoying everything this world has to offer. The moonlight calmed his mind by making him forget everything for a moment. Wow, even the Hydra was at a loss of words in front of Mother Nature's beauty. Come here, she looked divine in the moonlight. He just pulled her closer before locking his lips with hers. She ran her fingers through his shoulder-length hair, pulling him closer and closer. Right at this moment, he didn't want anything else other than a lover's embrace. He savored her lips as well as this moment as much as he could. Don't mind us, we just close our eyes. Meanwhile, back on the Elon continent, 6 elderly figures were seated around a round table. They looked like they were in their late exiting or early 70s. Have the Guardians or the church found the reason for what happened? One of the elderly people, who was a man, asked the others. They are still investigating. Apparently, only Elon and Azair are experiencing this issue. My contact in the Guardians said it's not permanent. That's good news. The tournament is in 3 weeks and we have yet to find a way to see someone's cultivation level. An old woman rubbed her temples. The wrinkles on her forehead increased due to recent complications. Well, until now, you just focus on the arch energy radiation coming from someone to know their cultivation level. Who would have known that something would mask the radiation suddenly? Not only these old people who were responsible for organizing the 2 championship tournaments, but no one in the world knew that it was Michael who started this mess. When the hostile Hydra became mad, it let out a pulse that was hiding a cultivator's energy radiation. In other words, the cultivators lost their ability to perceive one's cultivation level just by looking at them. For anyone living in the southern continent, they felt the pulse as an earthquake, but for Elon and Azair, the pulse resulted in more than an earthquake. The Guardians are working with the Dwarven Kingdom and the Elven Kingdom to design a device that might solve this problem. But since the competition is in 3 weeks, we might get just a rushed product. At this point, anything would do. Let the Guardians and the church handle it. If they can't, they should ask the Sky Hall. I heard the Guardians has someone whose sister is the Sky Hall's next holy maiden. Noah Winston. It's a pity that we can't let Guardians compete in the tournament, one of the old men said. He has the most potential to win the main tournament, an old lady with golden hair spoke. What about the 5-star alchemist of Rivertown? You mean Ghost? You just answered your own question, Anon. He's an alchemist, not a fighter. This is a stage for big-time warriors who have trained themselves in combat arts for years. Honestly, I don't think he stands a chance. I agree with lovely Gilda here. There's a reason the Alchemist Guild has a tournament of their own. They are not fighters, they are just bookworms. Enough of your predictions, let's talk about the prizes for each championship. Another old man stopped their conversation as the old woman called Gilda said. About that, Gildra retrieved a parchment tied using a golden ribbon from her space ring before sliding it towards the old man who asked about the prizes. The old man picked up the parchment, opening it carefully. The others stared at him, reading what's written on the parchment. His old eyes started to get wide. Except for Gildra, who had already read the parchment. The others wondered what's on the parchment that made the old man Morgan react this way. Well, what is it? The old man put the parchment on the table before him. King of Brodia wants to offer Bradford Barony to the main championship tournament winner. Their eyes went wide in surprise. Not even once in the tournament's history did they offer something such as a barony as a final prize. Why in the hell would he do that? The same old man who commented about the Alchemy Guild asked. Well, there were rumors that Baron Totonk has gone mad after his daughter's death. This parchment seems to prove the rumors were indeed true. Why else would the king consider giving up the barony to someone else? Yeah, I heard about that nasty business. I just wish the Guardians and the church finds that Lucifer before someone else gets murdered. Even if the Baron went mad, what about his sons? The king can make one of Totonk's sons the next Baron. Something smell fishy indeed. The old man who read the parchment frowned. He was old enough to sense there's a scheme hatchery in the motion here. Chapter 269. Michael was standing on the helm deck, watching the sunrise at the horizon. The sun bloomed on the horizon, golden petals stretching ever outwards into the rich blue sky above the calm sea. It was the brilliant flower of the sky that warms the days. It was the invitation to a new day, that sunrise so ordinary yet extraordinary. He changed into his usual black attire, including a black long coat, a black shirt top 2 buttons open to show the chest cut, black trousers and black boots. He still wore the face mask to hide his real face, had rather be safe than sorry. The last night, after spending an hour flying over the clouds, they returned back to the ship to oversee the pirates cleaning the ship. Even after almost 10 full hours of cleaning, the pirates were only able to clean a small portion of the entire ship. He guessed it would take at least 3 days to clean the ship to his liking. Since he supplied all the needed items to do the cleaning, he ordered them to clean the ship while he's spending his time in Giselle. He trusted Maxine would teach them a lesson if his crew tried to slack off. After sailing on the peaceful sea for another hour, the sun completely emerged from the horizon, lighting the land in the distance. The first thing that came to his view was a tall light tower painted in white with red lines at the top and bottom. The closer they got to the light tower, he could vaguely see the buildings, ship docks as well as merchant ships approaching the shore. "Kingdom of Giselle," he said under his breath. "That's the capital of Giselle, Lord Lucifer." Heinberg came dragging the still unconscious bodies of Logan and Jonah. Krilta right. Michael remembered the city's name Heinberg mentioned earlier. The city of Krilta was built in the shadow of a dormant volcano located in the far north of Krilta. Through the ships docked at the docks and the somewhat tall buildings, he could vaguely see this dormant volcano in the distance. The volcano's upper parts seemed to have been covered by snow, which gave it a unique charm, masking the terror hiding within. The city's elegance was matched by the backdrop of grand forests which have helped shape the city into what it is today. Considering the volcanic soil contained minerals and various nutrients needed for pasture, the city thrived in farming, wine production, and was blessed with grand forests. The riches the volcano brought were of great importance, but it was also influential when it came to architectural designs, as the vast majority of buildings have been built with granite and travertine. In addition to these stones, marble was considered the ultimate epitome of beauty and power by Giselle as well as many other kingdoms. Compared to Elon, the southern continent kingdoms made the main construction of brick and mortar and lined them with marble slabs. The black warship immediately received everyone's attention in the dock area. Michael saw little children pointing their fingers at the ship while their eyes sparkled in amazement. As the Silent Reaper approached the docking area, Gaia came to his side, stretching her arms after her morning meditation. Like Michael, she too started to wear full black clothes. She wore everything the same as him except the small satchel hanging on her waist where the Hydra is sleeping peacefully. Because Michael lowered a pirate flag that had the skull and 2 swords on it, a group of patrolling soldiers came to the docking area. Michael was not a historian, but he watched enough movies to recognize the soldiers as legionaries with one single look. The patrol unit contained 12 soldiers who held long pointy spears in their hands. They wore red knee-length woolen tunics as well as shin guards made out of leather. They didn't wear boots like the soldiers Michael had seen ever since he came to this world, but they wore sandals. Their torsos were vest-shaped armor with round plates covering their shoulders. Each soldier wore a helmet consisting of 2 flaps to protect their cheeks. In addition, the helm curled a little bit to protect the neck. Only the leading soldier's helmet was adorned with red plumes arranged in a crescent shape. Their thighs and arms were unprotected though. In simple words, they looked exactly like the legionary soldiers of ancient Rome. Not only the soldiers, when Michael looked around the buildings, they also looked exactly the same as the buildings he saw in some Rome-related TV shows and movies. Most of the buildings were 2 stories painted in white with light orange overlapping roof tiles. The unavailability of the ship flag raised suspicion among the soldiers. The soldiers waited for them to leave the ship. Michael turned back to look at Heinberg. "You sure they won't ask a question?" Michael would have put Jonah and Logan into a sack if it wasn't for Heinberg, who told him that he will deal with the soldiers. Until he could get the senators under his control, he decided to keep a low profile. His plan was to control the Giselle kingdom through the senators from the shadows. However, that didn't mean he would not show his powers at all. On the contrary, he would show his powers in a suitable place to get the maximum amount of badass points. As the ship came to a halt, Heinberg put a black bag on Jonah and Logan's heads before following Michael and Gaia to the docks. When Michael was walking down the plank, 3 types of people came into his view. The majority of the 3 were commoners who wore rather plain-looking clothes covering their full bodies. They didn't wear any sparkling pieces of jewelry or any kind of accessories to adorn themselves. Only sweat of hard work adorned them. These people were the majority in the docks area. Most of them were unloading wooden boxes from a merchant ship at the docks a bunch of meters away from the Silent Reaper. What was inside the wooden boxes was not Michael's concern at the moment. The soldiers remained calm until they saw Heimberg dragging two bodies that had their heads covered by black bags. Some of the soldiers standing behind the leading soldiers tilted their spears towards Michael as a sign of caution. "Tell your men to move aside, soldier. We are here for official business." Michael noticed Heimberg retrieving a gold-plated card the size of a credit card from the inner pocket of his shirt. This was the first time Michael saw the thing, but apparently not the soldier in the front. The moment he saw the card, the soldier's body tensed. He immediately saluted at Heimberg while his eyes showed a mix of fear and respect. "Where is Senator Caius?" "In his manor, sir." "Does the sir want us to escort you?" The soldier almost raised his voice like he was in a cadet walking. After Heimberg showed the gold card, the soldier didn't even take a second look at the bodies. "Lord Lucifer," Heimberg looked at Michael, wordlessly asking him to speak further. Michael just nodded as Heimberg gave further orders to the soldiers. "No one goes to the ship without my say-so." "Yes, sir." "Tell them to leave him somewhere safe," Michael said, glancing at Logan. "Put him somewhere safe and leave him alone." As per Michael's order, Heimberg moved Logan's body towards the soldiers. The onlookers stared at the scene and the Silent Reaper for a few moments before resuming what they were doing. After all, these working classes were paid for working, not for gawking. In front of Michael, there was a straight road paved in gray stones leading to the inner city. Either side of the roads had buildings and occasional palm-like trees. Dragging Jonah's body would be a pain and slow down their pace, so Heimberg just lifted his body, putting him on his shoulder. As any typical city would have, he noticed smithery, a couple of bakeries as well as ration stores along the way. In addition to those stores, he was surprised to see many alchemy ingredient stores and agriculture supplies stores. Given that all the people in the southern continent required food, there was a higher demand for agriculture supplies than all the other continents. Fresh organic eggs, fruits and vegetables for the cheapest price. "Come on, lords and ladies, take a look at our produce." It felt like a century since he heard the cries of farmers and smelled the scent of a marketplace. "How much are these?" While walking through the streets, he forgot to turn back until he heard Gaia's voice. She was at a fruit stall, smelling the reddish mangoes on a bucker before a white-bearded old man. 10 mangoes for 3 gold coins. "No way, 2 dash here." He almost twisted her ears for trying to bargain with the old farmer for 1 gold coin. It was fortunate they could spend the gold coins of Elon in the southern continent, as both the continents shared the same currency. "Stop, let me choose," she interrupted the old farmer, and started to pick the mangoes herself. "What did she say?" "Oh yeah, don't focus on the color. Squeeze the mango gently and smell the stem end for a fruity aroma." The old man just stared at Gaia while she took each mango in her hand, squeezing and smelling them. "Yeah, take your sweet time." "I am taking it." She completely ignored Michael, who just rolled his eyes. Seeing the both of them, the old farmer chuckled. "Wives, sir." Heimberg felt a chill crawling through his spine when he saw the old man casually kidding the two most terrifying people in the whole southern continent. He thought the old man was going to die a horrible death, but unlike what he expected, Heimberg saw Lucifer just laugh with the old man while she elbowed Michael, gently smiling. Chapter 270. "I'm really starting to regret giving you money." She had a basket in her hand full of fruits, vegetables, and meat. In her shopping spree, she forgot the one most important thing. She didn't know how to cook. Because they were walking through the streets full of people, she was unable to put everything in her space ring. The further they walked into the inner city, the less crowded the streets got. The paved street they were walking on opened up in a 3-way junction. In the center of the junction was a beautifully built water fountain. The marble stone coupled with bright blue sparkling water made the fountain truly a majestic structure. In addition to the beautiful fountain, the buildings surrounding were fancier than the buildings near the docks. These buildings were built using marble stones rather than granite, which gave each building a unique charm. Most of the buildings were 3 stories with green plants hanging from the roof as decoration. Besides the buildings, the people roaming on the streets were fancier too, especially the ladies. They wore golden inlaid sleeveless tunics, and some of them wore colorful stolas. Apart from the fancy sparkling dress, each of them had gold and gem-placed pieces of jewelry adorn their ears as earrings, neck as chains, and hands as bangles. "I'm standing right here," Gaia said, gritting her teeth. Looking at him gawking at all the ladies began to kindle her jealousy. There were all kinds of hot women walking around the water fountain, redheads, blondes, brunettes, and even some green-haired ladies. Ouch! Only when he felt a sharp pain in his upper arm, his focus on the women broke. Were you checking them out in front of me? I'm not checking them out as you think. It reminds me of something back at home. Since this place resembled the Roman TV shows he watched like Spartacus, he felt some nostalgia. If it wasn't the truth, she would have seen it in his eyes and began to growl about him lying to her. She was with him long enough to see that he's really telling the truth. Plus they're hot, he teased her to make her mad. Her facial muscles twitched weirdly, making Michael chuckle. She tried to bite him in the shoulder despite the people on the streets. Fortunately, she had a heavy basket in her hand, and he was quick enough to restrain her by wrapping his hand around her shoulder. He squeezed her with love mixed with childish playfulness. Looking at them act this way really made Heimberg wonder what kind of people they are. One moment, he was killing people within a heartbeat. Another moment, he was playing with his girlfriend and laughing with old men to their jokes. Move it, dog. A fancy-dressed woman's voice reverberated the area. Michael noticed a man getting slapped by the woman. Slave. Only took Michael a single glance at the man to recognize the man as a slave. The man had an X-shaped burn scar on his left chest. He wore nothing but a small piece of worn-out tunic only covering his privates. The woman kept beating the man with a stick like he was some kind of animal. The scene gave him major nostalgia, because he spent years of his childhood working for arms dealers and drug dealers as a drug mule along with the other kids in the orphanage. They were slaves to those criminals, which was the reason Michael hated slavery to the core. Although he knew he can't clean the slavery off of the earth, he killed a fair share of slavers in the dark corners of the world. In this world, however, he could gain the power to completely wipe off slavery. This is not the time Gaia knew his hate towards the slavers. Except for the existence of the system, he shared everything with her as she did with him. Michael calmed himself with a couple of deep breaths. Lead the way, he signaled Heimberg to lead the way as there were 2 roads across the water fountain. Heimberg nodded before taking the lead. Michael silently followed him behind while carefully noticing everything around him. He saw more and more slaves along the way. They all shared the same burn mark. He even saw some completely naked female slaves. The nobles who owned them had no sympathy whatsoever for the slaves, else they would have at least given them a piece of cloth to cover their privates. The slavery is worse than I thought. Gaia felt pity for the slaves. There was no life in the slaves' eyes. They walked behind the nobles like zombies. For the moment, Michael kept walking past them without lifting a finger. After a few more minutes of following Heimberg, an elegant mansion appeared in his view. From the outside, this mansion looked magnificent. It had been built with marble stones and had blue stone decorations. Small, half-rounded windows added to the overall style of the mansion, and had been added to the house in a very asymmetric way. The building was shaped like a T. The 2 extensions extended into a covered patio reaching the end of that side of the house. The second floor was smaller than the first, which created a layered style of look in combination with the roof. This floor had a very different style than the floor below. The roof was flat and covered with brown wood shingles. 2 large chimneys sat at either side of the house. There were no windows on the roof. The mansion itself was surrounded by a gorgeous garden, including hanging grapevines, a couple of lion statues that spit water through its mouth, a pond and many different flowers. Just like the legionary soldiers he saw at the docks, there were many groups of soldiers patrolling the mansion's surroundings. On top of the legionaries, he could see many soldiers who wore no armor but only briefs and long red capes. The long red cape, golden boots, and shield with the symbol V made it pretty obvious to Michael. Are those Spartans? Still Michael asked just to clarify. Yes, they are, Lord Lucifer. Unlike the legionaries, the Spartans remained closer to the mansion entrance. What are you waiting for? Go ahead, Gaia ordered Heimberg. The Spartans were an elite group of soldiers who only answered to the senators. Therefore, Heimberg's gold card meant nothing to the Spartans. Heimberg showed the gold card to the legionary soldiers while walking towards the mansion as the soldiers saluted at him before moving away from their path. Stop! However, when they approached the front door, a Spartan warrior with dark brown hair and beard stopped them. The Spartan had a clear muscle definition. His face was covered by the helm, but Michael could see his brows frowning looking at the body on Heinberg's shoulder. The Spartan focused on the body as he didn't even take a glance at Michael or Gaia. Who is it? The Spartan didn't address Jonah as a body. It was obvious to Michael that the Spartan soldier saw enough dead bodies to differentiate a live one from a dead body. Heinberg turned his gaze towards Michael, waiting for him to open his mouth. It's Senator Caius' son Jonah. Jonah? The Spartan soldier let out a surprised shout. Why is he unconscious? No matter. The Spartan soldier continued before looking at Michael and Gaia from top to bottom. Spartans! The Spartan soldier shouted as a couple of more Spartans came out of the house. Search them before letting them in. I'll go see Senator Caius. The Spartan soldiers went inside as the other soldiers came to search the trio. Michael let the Spartan soldier search him without saying anything. After all, both Michael and Gaia had no weapons on them, but they kept their weapons in the space ring. Even though Gaia was a female, the Spartan soldier never crossed his line when searching for her. Michael nodded in approval inside looking at their discipline. You can't bring this inside. The Spartan soldier pointed at Gaia's basket. And what's in that satchel? She could leave the basket outside, but there was no way in hell she would show the Hydra to the outside world yet. She didn't even trust Maxine with the Hydra, or she would have left the little Hydra in the ship. It's Senator Caius' package. Michael's words stopped the Spartan soldier from touching the satchel, and probably ended up dead in her hands. After hearing what he just said, the Spartan soldier gave them a look of doubt, but eventually decided not to search the satchel because it's a crime to lay hands on packages such as those of the senators. All the Spartan soldiers knew about the secret operations the senators do in the shadows. Therefore, the soldier kept his hands off of the satchel. Follow me and don't make any sudden moves, the Spartan soldier warned them before leading them into the mansion. Humph, not a Spartan in this county who could stop these two, Heinberg thought to himself. The Spartan always acted so high and mighty because they were the strongest and the elite soldiers a kingdom could offer. This made many Spartans extremely overbearing. Heinberg couldn't wait to see the two of them kick some Spartan asses, and nor could Michael. Chapter 271. While following the Spartan soldier, he noticed several more Spartans guarding the mansion. Apart from the Spartans, there were many slave maids cleaning the floors, furniture as well as walls. The mansion's interior was just as fancy as the outside. The marble floors cleaned by the slaves were spotless, reflecting the golden light produced by the miniature chandeliers on the ceiling. The corridor gradually opened up to a spacious hallway, where Michael saw several paintings of a man in a toga hanging on the walls. The man looked like a typical Roman nobleman with a short haircut. A few slaves cleaning the floors took a peek at Michael, but they quickly turned their eyes at the floor before the Spartans could notice them. Clean it thoroughly, lowlives. The rug is worth more than your filthy lives, a legionary soldier shouted at the slaves cleaning the floor near a maroon carpet. The hall was decorated with a classic Roman sofa set with a gold inlaid tea table as a centerpiece. The dark brownish sofa set did not match with the white marble floor per se, but it gave a unique charm to the hall along with a huge chandelier hanging directly above the tea table. The Spartan soldier threw a glance at Michael and Gaia, expecting them to be shocked by the grandness of the mansion. Yet what he saw in their eyes was nothing but indifference. Soon, the soldier led them towards the curved stairs on the far end of the hall. Heinberg walked forward on the stairs carrying Jonah on his shoulder. His heartbeat began to rise nearing the senator's room. To this moment, he had no idea what these two were planning to do with Senator Caius. After they climbed the stairs, they saw a majestic two-door with golden doorknobs. The door was guarded by two Spartan soldiers. One was a normally built soldier while the other looked huge, almost double the size of Logan. The soldier wore full golden metal armor from toe to head. There wasn't a single place in his body that wasn't covered by metal. He was at least 7.5 feet tall with the same size spear in his hand. He's the giant, Senator Caius' personal guard. Wait inside, Senator Caius will meet you in a few moments. The Spartan standing beside the giant opened up the door. You heard him. Don't do anything stupid while you're inside. No one accompanied the trio inside the room. As far as the Spartans concerned, who would be stupid enough to steal something when the giant standing right outside the door? If they were caught stealing or anything that could harm Senator Caius, the giant would rip their bodies apart. Even the Spartans were afraid of the giant. The room they stepped in was large yet looked cozy with thick carpet. A large oak table with 2 comfy chairs on the front for the guests while white throne-like sofa for the senator. There were no windows though, which was logical considering no one could assassinate the Senate from a distance through the windows. The walls were full of more paintings except this time. They weren't the paintings of the senator but abstract paintings. So much money wasted, Michael sighed looking at the paintings. He could tell the senator was a fanatic for paintings by looking at the room. Back on Earth, there were rich people who would spend millions of dollars on paintings. Michael never understood these people, and now he knew the senator was one of them. The table was empty without any documents or pacers on it. The golden light radiated by the chandelier lightened up the room. He wondered what's powering up the chandeliers. Take the bag off, Michael ordered Heinberg as he removed the black cloth from Jonah's head. Are you gonna wake him up? As Gaia asked, Michael lifted Jonah with one hand from Herrenberg's shoulder and put him on the chair in front of the table. After putting Jonah on the chair, Michael's gaze turned towards the senator's chair. The chair was made of some kind of glossy redwood with gold plates etched on top rails and styles. The seat and arms were covered in dark maroon cushions to provide extra comfort. Heinberg saw Michael walking towards the senator's seat instead of sitting on one of the guest chairs. His heart pounded against his chest with each step he took towards the chair. Gaia followed him behind before hopping onto the table beside the chair. The Spartans outside the door still didn't notice anything happening inside. Standing just beside the chair, Michael willed the system to equip the Lucifer armor without the mask and hood. In a blink of an eye, Heinberg saw Lucifer put his armor on. He shivered at the sight of the black armor. The sight of them in their armors told him the horror of what was about to happen. Heimberger instincts screamed at him. His eyes were locked at the entranceway, expecting the giant to step in any second. If it was before, Heinberg would have been afraid of the giant, but now Lucifer and the girl freaked him out more than the giant. He witnessed how easily Lucifer killed Ross and everyone. After witnessing what a magic spell could do, he really didn't think even the giant could stand a chance against Lucifer. Good, I was kinda getting bored. Gaia closed her eyes for a second before transforming herself into Dark Queen. Unlike Michael, she put on the black mask and the hood, making herself mysterious and eerie. Michael finally seated himself on the senator's chair, casually putting his legs on the table. He tilted the chair backward, which caused creaking noises. Unacceptable. Just as Michael expected, the noises drew the Spartans' attention. The moment the 2 Spartans entered the room, the Spartan soldier standing beside the giant shouted at Michael. The giant, however, remained silent, but Heinberg could feel the cold, murderous aura coming from the giant. Grr. The giant uttered no words but growled menacingly. Heinberg's body automatically moved towards Michael's side away from the Spartans. He knew the safest place for him was by Lucifer's side. However, he prayed to the gods that he won't become collateral damage in the battle between the Spartans and Lucifer. It's rude to keep the guests waiting, my dear Spartans, since he didn't use a voice modulator. He sounded like himself. But what he did and said made the Spartans' blood boil in anger. Soon, several more Spartans came running after hearing their fellow Spartans' initial shout. At the moment, 12 angry Spartans stood at the entrance aiming their spears at Michael and Gaia. As usual, Heinberg saw no distress on his face. Grrrrrrrr. The giant's growl got louder as he took a step towards Michael. Each of his steps made the room tremble. What's going on here? The giant halted his steps when they all heard a sudden voice. The Spartans moved aside as Michael saw the old man in the paintings standing at the entrance with the Spartan soldier they met before. What in the hell? The Spartan soldier reacted the same as the others. Senator Caius, Heinberg called out to the senator to draw his attention. I don't know who you are, but you just made a big mistake. However, Senator Caius was still looking at Michael. Although the senator looked calm, Michael could see the killing intent in his eyes. If Gaze could kill one, he would have died by now. The senator walked towards him while the Spartans surrounded the room, waiting for the senator to give the killing order. The senator stopped by the giant's side. He glanced at the giant, wordlessly telling him to wait for his order. I have some questions for you. But before you answer them, you better explain to these 2 the crimes they committed against the kingdom. Senator Caius could see that they have probably returned from the undead island completing the task, But what Michael did was a crime against him. To this moment, Caius didn't see Jonah's face because he was facing Jonah's back, not his face front. He doesn't take orders from you anymore, Caius, Michael calmly said. Grrrr. The giant growled more after hearing Michael address Caius by his name. Addressing a senator by his name before others was a crime, and considered insolence against the kingdom itself. Therefore the Spartans became enraged. Why don't you take a seat beside your son? Michael pointed at Jonah as Caius' eyes went wide in shock. He slowly moved towards Jonah before looking at his face. Instead of acting happy to see his son, Senator Caius creased his frowns while scanning the room for someone. How did he? Where is Ross? Finally the senator asked for Ross. Did you really think they would survive on that island the second time? Michael's words stunned the senator. For the first time, the anger in his old eyes faded away while a hint of panic emerged in his eyes. I offered him the chance to live. All he had to do was swear his loyalty to me. You killed him? The senator gritted his teeth. I don't believe it. You couldn't have killed Ross in a million years. He's a Spartan, Captain. The Spartan soldier yelled at Michael. To the Spartans, Michael was just a youngster in fancy armor. They couldn't even imagine him killing Ross, a highly decorated Spartan. Oh, he was a Spartan? This was a piece of new news to Michael. That doesn't matter now. Let's get on to business, shall we? Chapter 272. The Spartans were waiting for the senator's orders to kill him. The way he's sitting legs up on the table, the way he spoke made the Spartan blood boil in anger. If you may, Michael looked at Gaia as she flicked her wrist. The very next moment, the door slammed shut. How? The senator's mind went black seeing the door shut itself. The Spartans looked bewildered about what just happened. They had no idea what he was about to do to them if the senator refused to accept his offer. Initially, Michael wanted to silently make the senator his puppet, but after witnessing how the nobles treat the slaves, he wanted to show the senator a glimpse of hell, so he would do everything Michael says with no questions asked. From now on, you're gonna do everything I tell you to, Senator Caius. Can we kill him now? Grrrr. The giant growled as usual while the Spartans basically trembled to kill Michael. Yet Senator Caius hesitated to give the order because he wanted the artifact he ordered Heimberg to get. Most of all, he didn't want the Spartans to know about the off-the-books operation. But it was too late for him to send the Spartans out as Gaia already put a barrier around the room when she shut the door. The barrier would prevent the Spartans from leaving along with any sound. As you can see, my Spartans are very eager to kill you. You and I both know what's keeping me from giving the order. The senator retrieved his calm composure. He didn't know what sort of technique they pulled to close the door, but with his Spartans and the giant, he felt invincible. As far as Caius was concerned, their lives were in his hands. What do you think is in that bag? You can tell him. Michael didn't worry about confirming Caius the existence of the artifact. If Michael's guess was right, Caius would either doubt the truth or try to get his hands on the satchel. The moment H nodded, Caius' body shuddered. But it's mine now, growling. I'm gonna give you one last chance, kid. Give me the artifact and beg for my mercy. I might tell Giant to go easy on you too. Giant that Giant this, what's the big deal? You think he can protect you from me? Finally Caius snickered, having enough with Michael. Giant. The giant took a step forward as the Spartans took a step back. They had all seen what the giant would do to Caius' targets. Ignitia, he aimed his index finger at the giant's head as a thick golden lightning bolt went straight through the giant's metal helmet like a hot knife through butter. For a few moments, no one uttered a single word. They were speechless. Thud. It took the giant's body a few seconds to hit the ground. Soon the giant was lying in his own pool of blood beside Senator Caius. Protect the senator. Only the Spartan soldier Michael met first regained his senses. He immediately shouted at the other Spartans, realizing the danger Caius was in. Caius, however, stood still in shock. His brain went blank, seeing magic for the first time in his life. Wind blast. Before the Spartan soldier could come to the senator's side from where he was standing, Michael cast another spell, blasting the Spartans as well as the senator into the wall. Spartans, gladiators, giants, no one can protect you from me if I want you dead. Michael slowly stood up from his chair. The Spartans were strong, but the wind blast was stronger. The force of them hitting the stone wall almost knocked them out. Senator Caius wiggled on the ground, trying to get up. Almost all the Spartans on their knees while trying to get a good grip of their spears to attack Michael and defend the senator. Gaia walked along with him before kicking one of the Spartan soldiers in the gut. She didn't stop with one but kicked every Spartan soldier. If she was a southerner, they would have dodged or evaded her kick. Since she used arch energy to speed her movements, they could do nothing. In a couple of moments, all the Spartan soldiers were coughing up blood with broken ribs. Only Caius was lying on the ground unharmed by Gaia. Get up, Michael lifted the senator by his neck. Do you need another glimpse? I think you do. He held Caius in one hand while pointing his index finger at the Spartan soldier they met first. Ignitia, the lightning bolt fired from Michael's fingertip, took another life in a blink of an eye. The blood splattered on Caius' toga, painting the white toga red. Bast! Ignitia! The Spartan soldier who just opened his mouth to curse Michael received a bolt of lightning through his head. Arg! The other Spartans growled in a mix of anger and shock. They wanted to stop him from killing more people. Their instincts and training told them to save Caius first before figuring out how he is using magic inside the void line. By sending your son to the undead island, you issued a death warrant on him. What's that tell you about you? Michael's grip around Caius' throat tightened. The old man's face started to turn pale. That you're not a good man, in other words, you're a bad man. After he said that, he threw the senator to the other end of the room. Thud. Senator. The senator hit the wall pretty hard before falling to the ground. His neatly ironed toga now looked messy with a few stains of blood. Stay still. When the Spartans tried to stand up, Gaia began to kick them once again. This time harder than before. Michael first went to the chair beside Jonah, before dragging the senator by his neck. Let's start the conversation again. Michael put the senator on the chair beside Jonah, who was still in an unconscious state. He then hopped onto the table, putting his legs on the senator's chair's arms. Normally I would have killed you slowly and painfully. Tiny bolts of lightning danced around Michael's fingers. He moved his hand closer to the senator's face, so he could hear the sound of electric bolts. Who are you? I'm the man who's gonna rule this continent. Michael pulled Caius' right arm. L-R-R-G-G-G. Michael began to write his name one letter at a time on Caius' arm using the lightning bolt. His skin began to burn as Caius screamed in agony. You, Senator. Argga. Because of the barrier Gaia put around, not a single sound escaped the room. Watching Lucifer torture Caius sent a chill running through Heinberg's spine. He had seen the senator and the Spartans torture and kill people before, but he never imagined someone would do the same to them. Karma is a bitch, Senator. Heinberg sighed inside. After tattooing the letter F of his name, the senator's eyes rolled inside the socket. He was losing his consciousness, yet Michael injected a small amount of healing potion into Caius' bloodstream to keep him awake. It was not enough to heal the burn wounds. It was just enough to keep him from losing consciousness. Say my name. For the first time since he came to Caius' house, Heinberg saw his face turn serious. Standing on the side, seeing him like this terrified the heck out of Heinberg, and he could imagine how terrified the senator would be. Senator's body shivering was a pretty good sign of the fear in his heart. Say my name. The intensity of the lightning bolts increased while the room began to turn darker and darker. Caius looked up, growling in pain, to see Lucifer's eyes glowing in crimson-red color. Lucifer. The moment the senator said his name, his eyes fired up as dark smoke enveloped his body, completing Michael's Dark Lord form. With a swift kick, Michael turned Senator's chair to face the Spartans. I'm gonna make you a one-time offer. While speaking to Caius, he pointed at a Spartan. The lightning bolt brushed past Caius' ear and ended the Spartan's life in a second. From now on, yet again, he sent another lightning bolt, killing another one. You work for me. Heinberg saw another Spartan soldier lose his life. Their eyes were still open with full of fear and shock. Or you and everyone you care for. This time Michael raised both of hand as several lightning bolts shot from his hands, killed all the Spartans in the room. When the lightning bolts disappeared, the Spartan bodies permeated smoke and burned skin smell. The sight made Caius' blood run cold. Will die. Michael finished his sentence after he turned Caius' chair to look him in the eyes. Their deaths were quick. Betray me or even think about it, you will beg for death. While the senator was scared shitless, Michael willed the system to place a teleportation rune on the table, so he could teleport in and out of the room wherever he wanted discreetly. Clean the mess. Our senator here will offer a generous amount of gold to the Spartans' families who unfortunately lost their lives saving the senator's life from a group of assassins. Hi guys. I've been playing the heck out of Battlefield 2042 open beta for the last 2 days, so that was why I couldn't update the chapters. Sorry. Your favorite author does deserve a day or two off. Chapter 273. Was that really necessary? While flying above the city, Gaia asked Michael. Was what? Killing the Spartans. I thought we were just gonna beat the hell out of them. Michael stopped flying for a moment to answer Gaia. First, the Spartans would have told others that Caius is working for me. Second, killing all of them was the best way to scare and make Caius our bitch. Third, anyone who protects scumbags like Caius with their lives doesn't deserve to live. Michael never knew the Spartans like Heimberg. When he killed them, he only listened to his gut feeling which said the Spartans were anything but innocent. What's the plan now? She wasn't going to argue with him after noticing the cold intent in his eyes. Ever since he said he saw a glimpse of the future, she noticed many changes in him. He had become more cold-blooded. To be honest, she wasn't worried about his newfound changes. On the contrary, she was glad because there was no way a soft-hearted person could achieve their goals. We'll take a day off first. Then we'll kidnap all the senators and make them our bitches. She saw him smile coldly. Leaving Heimberg and Krilta, they continued to fly in a random direction. After flying for an hour, they found a glossy grass field on the top of a small mountain cliff. The sun was many hours away from setting down, yet their limit of arch energy usage time made them rest for the day. I want this world to stay like this. Standing atop the cliff, he looked at the majestic view before him. As far as his eyes could see, the land was covered with green forests, grasslands, zigzaggy rivers, lakes and a chain of mountains, yet only a small portion of this vast Mother Nature contained man-made buildings. Although he was not into saving nature back on Earth, compared to Earth, this world was heaven. It was because these people coexisted with nature instead of destroying it. At first, he didn't value nature's beauty too much, but after seeing the future world where there wasn't a single tree or clean water source, he wanted to preserve this world as it is. If that meant fewer technologies, he was ready to sacrifice technology for nature. This was purely a decision made of selfishness, as he would rather rule a beautiful fantasy world than a technologically advanced polluted planet. They sat down on the grass field, feeling the gentle coldness of the dew. Gaia rested her head on his shoulder as he on her head. The Hydra wiggled out of the satchel onto Gaia's lap. It will be more beautiful if we have someone to play with. The silver head sounded a little gloomy. You do have someone to play with, little fella, a big scaly dumb dragon. Hearing her words, even the white head looked surprised and even delighted for a second. Think of him like your big brother, said Michael. Where is he now? The silver head asked with a bit of excitement hidden within its voice. He is at home. Don't worry, we'll go there soon. His purpose of visiting the southern continent was almost finished. The only thing he had to do was get all the senators in line, so he could rule Giselle from the shadows. Let's just say we control every kingdom in this world. What then? If you're asking me, will I rule this world as an emperor? No, too many risks, too many responsibilities, too much exposure. I prefer living my immortal life without any of those. What if I want to be the queen or the empress? She lifted her head from his shoulder, looking directly into his eyes. In his eyes, she seemed serious yet funny at the same time. For a few seconds, he couldn't find a suitable answer for her. He just stared at her pretty eyes. If you really want that throne, I'll not stop you, but don't expect me to play king. You will be a king after you marry me. It's destiny. She pinched his cheek playfully. Who said I'm gonna marry you? Her smile completely disappeared from her face. The rosy color of her face became redder while her eyes slightly welled up, looking at the earnest expression on his face. I'm just messing with you. Seeing her eyes watering up, he cupped her rosy cheeks playfully. You fucker. She lunged at him with all her strength and rage. Whoa. The Hydra jumped away to avoid being crushed under them as Michael and Gaia rolled on the ground. She kept drumming his chest for the prank he played. However, Michael's chest was like a steel plate. No matter how hard she hit, he didn't feel any pain. For him, it was great fun teasing her after a long day of work. You heartless son of a bitch. I will teach you a fucking lesson. Is that so? Michael grabbed her both hands while she tried to wiggle out of his grab. She was on top of him, which put a foxy smile on Michael's face. She was too angry to notice this smile as she continued to struggle. Stop, you two. There's something going on. The whitehead and silverhead slid towards them. At the moment, the Hydra's wings and legs hadn't completely grown yet, so they moved like a snake. While she was struggling, Michael turned his head to see the Hydra. Don't you hear the commotion? The blackhead asked. The shoutings, the screams? Michael released Gaia's hands before wrapping his hands around her waist and stood up. He then hugged her from behind, looking at the Hydra on the ground. I don't hear anything. Release me. Stop it, snake. He placed a kiss on her neck and cheeks from behind to stop her wiggle. As he expected, she stopped moving as she let out a quick bark of laughter. Where did you say the noise was coming from? We didn't, the whitehead said. That way the silverhead turned its head further towards the forest. Finally, Michael let go of Gaia as she seemed to have calmed down. Are we going or not? The whitehead craned its head, wordlessly telling Gaia to pick them up. After flying around the kingdom, they only had 1 hour left of their arch energy usage. Yet, the Hydra's curiosity made them fly towards the direction pointed by the Hydra. They were flying above the lush green mountains, until they saw a city surrounded by tall walls on the horizon. Unlike Krilta, this city was smaller and surrounded by city walls. Compared to the capital city itself, this city was far more defensible. Instead of landing and paying the guards as they would in any city, they flew directly into the city, hiding among the clouds. When they got closer to the city, they noticed the presence of soldiers was far higher than Krilta. From the sky, they could see numerous legionary soldiers, as well as Spartans, patrolling in and outside the city walls. The buildings and the architectural style were the same as Krilta though. Soon, they quickly descended from the sky onto a dark alley. Mommy, look, gods! A boy standing on the balcony they landed shouted. Michael just winked at the boy before walking out of the dark alley into the crowded streets. The people largely consisted of women, and men in fancy clothes were running toward something. There were not many slaves on the streets. Michael saw only a few slaves. They were completely naked and had various burn marks on their bodies. Ignoring the slaves as he was unable to do anything for them at the moment, Michael followed the crowd. This is what will happen if any of these strays tries to escape their masters. When they came to stop, Michael saw a stage built with 3 male naked slaves hanging. Their eyes were bulged out as their tongues were sticking out. In addition, there were deep-cut wounds all over their bodies. Many noble ladies had their hands on their mouths looking at the gruesome sight. Yet, they remained there listening to the 6-feet-tall muscular man on the stage. He wore a golden toga and had a long bloody sword in his hand. Obviously, the blood on the sword was the slaves, and he indicated as much as pain he could to the slaves before hanging them. Michael wondered why. No slave can rebel against their masters in any Senate-ruled kingdom, not in my watch. Soon, I will do the same to those rebels hiding in the Grey Mountains. The sudden talk about rebels piqued both Michael and Gaia's curiosity. Those dogs of gladiators are not a match for our Spartans. When the right time comes, I will personally march into Grey Mountains and bring the traitors' heads, and that day shall be set in stone as an example. Hail General Hyrieus! Hail General Hyrieus! Hail General Hyrieus! The nobles cheered in joy and pride while a few of the slaves stared at him with burning anger in their eyes. Michael noticed this. Unlike the slaves in Kryla, these slaves seem to have been wanting to be free men. It seems we have a gladiator army waiting for us. Standing among the cheering crowd, Michael thought to himself before deciding to follow Hyrieus. Sorry guys, I was so focused on doing things I don't love and missed doing what I love the most. It took me a while to find the strength needed to follow my passion instead of doing what others ask of me. I quit my internship and decided to become a full-time writer. So good news, expect 2 to 3 chapters a day from November. And I hope you guys stick with me and continue to support my work. Chapter 274. The streets were filled with soldiers and nobles. Either side of the streets had various shops such as utensil shops, markets, meat shops as well as small restaurants. Despite the crowd walking in front of him, his eyes were fixed on Hyrieus, who was accompanied by 20 Spartans and 25 legionary soldiers. It'd be impossible to assassinate Hirius unless the assassin is Michael, who could use arch-energy. However, it was not Michael's plan to assassinate Hirius. Let's just take him already. Gaia started to lose her patience after following Hirius for almost half an hour. The gentle warmth of the morning sun now transformed into the scorching sun. The noble ladies were frantically waving their fans to cool themselves. He felt pity for the ladies who had to wear corsets and thick clothes. Where the fuck is he going? She craned her neck slightly to see Hirius' party. Soon she got to know the answer for her question when she saw a 4-story building with 2 7-feet lion statues standing outside. Unlike the rest of the buildings, the one Hirius was walking towards was built using decorated glasses and some kind of redwood. The beams were made of wood while the walls, windows, and doors were made of glass. After Hirius entered the building through the front door, Michael and Gaia reached the 2 lion statues. Even among the nobles, only those who had Spartans as bodyguards entered the building. What's this building? An inn? I don't think so. Michael noticed the nobles showing some kind of card to the legionary soldiers standing by the door before entering the building. We should do the usual. Rent a room in a tavern nearby, watch his every moment using spiders, and then decide what to do with him next. I'm hungry, the whitehead's voice came out from Gaia's satchel. Seeing the sun was roasting them, and there was no way of getting into the building without revealing their power, Michael decided to go with Gaia's plan. Under the shade of the buildings, they strolled on the street looking for a tavern nearby. Nearly 20 meters away from the building Hirius entered, they found a lively tavern called the Lost Castle. From the outside, the tavern looked somewhat grand, peaceful, and cheerful. Marble stones and pillars made up most of the building's outer structure. It was difficult to see through the small, curtained windows, but the inviting music from within can be felt outside. The music had a medieval vibe to it which was very pleasant to listen to. Move your ass, human. Something smells really nice in there. Gaia gave a light pat on the satchel, hoping to shut up the white head before walking towards the door. She too felt hungry after all the walking and flying. As they entered the tavern through the hard wooden door, they were welcomed by laughing voices and the smile of a waitress. The bartender was a bald, middle-aged man. For a moment, a small smile appeared on his face, but after scanning both of them from top to bottom, that smile disappeared from his face. Nonetheless, the tavern was as lovely inside as it was on the outside. Rounded, stone beams supported the upper floor and the light fixtures attached to them. The walls were decorated with mounted animal heads, hides, and small animals. It was clear the owner is an avid hunter, and the smells coming from the kitchen indicated that the animals don't go to waste. The tavern was packed. Commoners and lesser nobles seemed to be the primary clientele here. Several long tables were occupied by Spartan soldiers. The other, smaller tables were also occupied by legionary soldiers who seemed to be enjoying their time by harassing girls in rather ragged plain clothes. When Michael and Gaia stepped into the tavern, in addition to some legionary soldiers, a few tog-wearing golden-haired youngsters turned their heads towards them. Ignoring their gazes, Michael walked towards an enmity table in the far end of the tavern. It's cool here. The sun's heat could not be felt in the tavern, not even a bit. Michael looked surprisingly around the room to find how they were cooling the inside. Sheila. Despite the bartender's hostility towards outsiders, he shouted at one of the waitresses to go to Michael's table. Oh, quit whining, Pablo. Sheila is serving us. A legionary soldier on the other end of the tavern from Michael's table replied the bartender, raising his voice. If it was Noah, he would have jumped the gun to fight the legionary soldiers for harassing a waitress. Michael was different. He remained calm, but he had a feeling that a fight was ahead because just like the bartender, some of the legionary soldiers too stared at Michael and Gaia with hostile looks on their faces. What's crawled into their asses? Gaia noticed these hostile gazes on them, and she did not like them. If only she wasn't hungry, she would have beat the crap out of them. For now, answering her cravings was her first priority. Sheila, a brown-haired girl who wore a tattered brown top and grayish skirt. The girl was a commoner, that meant she had a better life than the slaves Michael saw. Yet in the tavern filled with legionary soldiers, lesser nobles, and few Spartans, a commoner like her was the lowest kind. When Michael thought about it, the situation in the southern continent wasn't much different than Elon, except in Elon there were only 2 kinds, cultivators and those who stuck at arch sensing or foundation stage all their lives who were called commoners by the cultivators. In the southern continent, there were three kinds: nobles, commoners, and slaves. In a rich city filled with nobles and lesser nobles such as this, the nobles practically treated commons like their slaves. It was the girls who got the worse. It'd be a miracle if they lived through a month without being harassed or forced upon by a noble. Not that it was okay, but at least most of the cultivators would leave their victims with enough gold coins to live comfortably. In the southern continent, though, the nobles were far more heartless than those cultivators. "Honey, why don't you serve yourself to us?" The other waitresses were nowhere to be found while Sheila was being harassed by some noble youngsters. "Can we kill them already?" The white had enough of waiting. Since it inherited Gaia's personality, it hated waiting for food. "Fuck them up." "What the?" Gaia was stunned after hearing the whitehead shout. The youngsters who were harassing Sheila stopped what they were doing as almost everyone in the tavern looked at Gaia and Michael. "Well, I wanted to avoid a cliché restaurant fight, but here we are." Michael shook his head disappointedly. "Hehehe, looks like you're about to have a cliché fight." The system laughed inside his head. "At least I don't have to use arch energy to beat these guys." "Did you say fuck them up, bloody foreigners?" A legionary soldier slowly stood up from his table, menacingly looking at both Michael and Gaia. The noble youngster finally let go of Sheila as their focus turned on Gaia. A much more beautiful girl than Sheila. "I had a long fucking day and I'm fucking hungry, so I strongly suggest you assholes reconsider what you're about to do." Gaia removed the satchel as she put it on the table. Everyone, including the few Spartans, was completely surprised by her words. But soon their surprise became anger. They couldn't tolerate an outsider, and a girl disrespects their fellow soldiers. "You better get on the ground, begging for forgiveness, bitch." The legionary soldier gritted his teeth. "You got insurance for this place?" Michael asked the bartender. "Why do you care?" "It's your bitch friend who needs 1 inch." The bartender's answer surprised Michael, and at the same time, angered him a bit. He didn't know how they found out that they were foreigners, or why the bartender was hostile towards the outsiders. "Wrong answer." Michael slowly moved his hand back behind the chair, releasing spiders onto the ground. Since they might take longer than they actually planned, he didn't want Hirius out of his sight. Therefore, he released the spiders so they could get inside the building and monitor him. "Apologize for your words, or we will have to arrest you." A Spartan soldier stepped forward. "Arrest me? You'd be lucky to lift a fucking finger when I'm done with you." Finally, Gaia stood up, cracking her wrist. "Let me take a shot, soldier." Suddenly the youngster who was harassing Sheila stepped forward with a wicked smile plastered on his face. "Oh fuck this." Gaia lost her patience as she picked up the candle holder on their table before throwing it towards the youngster. The candle holder's round base hit the youngster's face with enough force to make him stumble backward and fall. Her movements were so quick as the legionary soldiers standing beside the youngster had no time to react at all. "Arrest her." The Spartan soldier seemed calm despite her actions. However, the legionary soldiers and the youngster's three noble friends got extremely mad. Their bodies shivered in anger. "Lock the fucking door, I don't want them running away," the legionary soldier ordered the others. "You're gonna regret that." Finally, Michael himself stood up. At the moment, none of the soldiers or Spartans knew who they were messing with. Chapter 275. Somewhere else in the southern continent, one could see vast chains of complex mountains. Each mountain in the chain was tall to the point that they almost touched the clouds. People called this chain of mountains the Gray Mountains because at night, the trees blanketing the mountains glimmered a silver light. The scholars of the southern continent studied the trees and their leaves, coming to the conclusion that the leaves had a property that absorbs moonlight and produces a vapor that radiates in silver color. In addition to the silver light, the vapor produced by leaves had a cooling effect. The scholars and blacksmiths of the southern continent were able to create a device that absorbs this vapor, store it within and release it slowly to cool down a room or a hall depending on the device's size. The Gray Mountains spread vast as the mountains surrounded 3 kingdoms. Each of the 3 kingdoms was ruled by a king instead of a senate. Among the 7 kingdoms in the continent, only these 3 kingdoms were ruled by kings. Over the years, the senates tried to overthrow a king's regime. intending to replace the kings with the Senate by conducting many clandestine operations, yet the Senates failed because the alliance between the three kings was too strong. Considering the three kingdoms were surrounded by gray mountains, it'd be near impossible for other Senate-ruled kingdoms to prevail in a war against these kingdoms. In addition to being a natural wall for the three kingdoms, the mountains provided the kingdoms with gray leaves, which were one of the major economic pillars for these kingdoms. No matter how hard the Senate tried to grow the gray leaves trees, they simply could not succeed as the gray leaves trees were exclusive to the gray mountains. If one tried to harm the gray mountain forests, they would not only face the wrath of the three kingdoms, but also the wrath of the Elven Empire in the Aur continent, because the forest was worshipped by elves all over the world. This was another layer of protection the three kingdoms got from the Grey Mountains. No bandit camp or any threat could prevail in the Grey Mountains. At least that was what the rest of the world thought. In the Forest of Kivin Kingdoms, part of the Grey Mountains, a campsite containing numerous tents could be seen under the thick canopy. But the campsite was not inhabited by bandits, it was inhabited by someone else. The campsite was surrounded by a makeshift wall made of wooden poles with a pointy end. Inside this wall, there were numerous sturdy men doing chores such as tending to the horses, chopping logs, fixing tents, and sharpening their weapons. Apart from these sturdy men, one could also see several women of various ages from young to old. Despite their gender, all of them had many scars on their bodies, including burn wounds. Every one of them in the camp was a slave. Many of them joined the Gladiator Rebellion 3 years ago before settling down in the Grey Mountains. The rebellion was led by the gladiator named Doctorus, the same man who trained Titus and Optimus, Arius brothers. 3 years ago, the Gladiator Rebellion started in Ludus Gallion in the Myril Kingdom. Soon it became a slave rebellion as many slaves began to rebel against their masters, fighting for their freedom. The rebellion sparked the dormant fire within the slaves to yearn for freedom. If the rebellion created a spark within the slaves, it created a forest fire within the nobles. The nobles viewed this rebellion as nothing but treason. Many nobles living in the Senate-ruled kingdoms began to treat the slaves even worse than before after the rebellion. Some of them even executed the slaves to make an example out of them. In addition to the atrocities against the slaves, many Luduses, schools of gladiators, increased security and enforced strict rules to keep their gladiators from rebelling. Regardless of everything, still many gladiators killed their masters and joined the rebellion. Of course, among those who rebelled, many died before even crossing the kingdom's border, and those who survived suffered various injuries in the hands of legionary and Spartan soldiers. At the moment, inside a tent on the northern side of the camp, Tiberius was staring at the dagger in his hand. His hands were frantically shaking. Holding the dagger in his right hand, he touched the deep cut back of his neck. The wound was running from the neck to the middle of his back. Although he survived this deadly cut, it affected the muscle movements of his arms. He could not even hold his daggers tightly. If he did, his arms would silver uncontrollably. The dagger reflected a square-jawed man's face covered in wavy hair. Each passing day, his strength diminished little by little. He could tell that soon, he would not be able to fight at all. Tiberius quickly put the dagger away when he heard someone calling him. Although most of his fellow gladiators noticed his illness, they didn't say anything. The man who came to Tiberius' tent was another gladiator called Marcus. "What is it, Marcus?" Tiberius asked in a thick British accent. "It's time. Time for another bloody meeting." Tiberius made his irritation obvious but still followed behind Marcus to Doctorus' tent, which was located in the camp center. "Afternoon, Marcus." "Hiya, Marcus." "Greetings, Marcus." Almost all of the people they met on the way to Doctorus' camp greeted Marcus with a smile, but avoided eye contact with Tiberius. It was because ever since they settled here 3 years ago, Tiberius always had disagreements with Doctorus and many other gladiators. Plus, Tiberius was short-tempered and the most feared gladiator among them. Unlike Doctorus, who preferred to take a subtle approach with the senates and the nobles, Tiberius wanted to strike them down before the nobles could do the same to them. As far as Tiberius was concerned, he wanted a more aggressive leader to lead them. If not for the injury he suffered 2.5 years ago when they attacked a Ludus in Gisel, he would have fought for the leadership. Nonetheless, after all these 2 years, besides the injury, he also realized that he's not suited for leadership. That was why he's trying to push Doctorus to be more aggressive. Although Tiberius didn't like the way Doctorus does things, he respected the man. After all, Doctorus trained him, and all the other gladiators in Ludus Gallion. He followed Marcus, ignoring all the pleasantries for a few moments before reaching the biggest tent of their campsite. The tent was large enough to hold a big round table they used for meetings and Doctorus belongings, which were not many. Other than being Doctorus' room, the tent also served as an armory. When Tiberius entered the tent, there were 6 male gladiators including Doctorus, and 2 female gladiators were standing around the table. I just received a piece of news from Gisel. Hyrieus has hanged 3 more people who tried to escape the kingdom. In this camp, many avoided using the word slave. They were fighting against slavery, and stopping using the word was their first step towards abolishing slavery. Fucking shithead, Tiberius punched the table in anger. He wanted to rip Hyrieus' throat off. He's been hunting the boar bastards ever since we started this rebellion. Were those people gladiators or slaves? Tiberius was one of the few people who's still using the word slave. After seeing what they did to Titus and Optimus, he hated being a slave himself, yet unlike Doctorus, he didn't believe that a simple thing like stopping using the word slave was enough to abolish slavery. Cleaners and maids, Doctorus answered. Let me guess, that bastard tortured them before hanging them. Tiberius did not look at any of them but Doctorus. Despite the respect he had for Doctorus, Tiberius felt his anger erupting within towards Doctorus. Doctors remained silent while everyone took his silence as a yes. Coupled with the frustration of his worsening condition, this piece of news flamed the fan of Tiberius' anger. What did I tell you, Doctorus? Leaving Hyrieus alive was a stupid decision. We should have killed him when we had the chance. He tightened his fist as his hand began to shiver. Although the gladiators standing around the table didn't agree with Tiberius on almost anything, this time was different. You were there with me, Tiberius. It was killing Hyrieus or saving those girls. Even if I had to do it again, I would still do the same. Then what the fuck are we doing right here? We don't have to anyone now. We must kill that fucker before he tortures and hangs more people. Give me 5 men and I will bring that bastard head. You can't, Tiberius. Doctorus immediately rejected Tiberius' request. You're not the same Tiberius you were once, and I'm not gonna send you on a suicide mission knowing that you'll die. What did you say? The situation immediately tensed up as Tiberius walked forward towards Doctorus with intent to fight. He couldn't control his anger after being insulted by doctors like this in front of the others. Among everyone in the Ludus Gallion, only Titus and Optimus could fight and win him. Since they were not here, he would have been the best gladiator in this camp if not for his condition. Stop, Tiberius. Marcus and some of the gladiators moved in front of Tiberius, trying to stop him. Get out of my way. Tiberius punched Marcus in the jaw. The punch should have knocked down Marcus. Instead, it did not even move Marcus' head. That's it, Marcus said before throwing a punch at Tiberius. If he was at his peak, he would have evaded Marcus' punch, but his condition slowed his movements. Doctorus shook his head disappointedly after seeing Tiberius getting knocked down by Marcus. He couldn't help but feel pity for Tiberius. A few minutes after sending men carrying unconscious Tiberius, the meeting resumed. Doctorus stared at the map of Giselle with a dagger in his hand. Tiberius was right. We must stop Hyrieus before he harms more people, as he said. He plunged the dagger into the table through the map of Giselle. Right at this moment, none of the gladiators knew that Hyrieus was begging for his life to the Dark Lord. Chapter 276. In a blink of an eye. 3 days passed since they visited Lanercost, where they saw Hyrieus hang the slaves. The last 3 days were not very exciting for Gaia except when she beat the hell out of legionary soldiers, Spartans, and the noble youngsters in the tavern. Your Highness, he's here. While Gaia was talking to Michael through the earbud, she saw Heimberg approach her slowly. The sun had already set on the horizon, leaving the darkness to envelop the kingdom. The only light source in the room was the burning candles on the table before Gaia. The door gradually creaked open to reveal Senator Caius. The senator's eyes took a few seconds to adjust to the darkness. Soon he saw Gaia sitting on his chair behind the table. He couldn't find Lucifer when he looked around. The image of him killing his Spartan soldiers was etched into his mind. Ever since that day, he has been having trouble sleeping. What do you know about Senator Viridius? She didn't even ask him to sit down. She just directly asked the question. For a few moments, the senator stared at her in fear. His face was pale while his legs slightly shivered. Noticing his behavior, Gaia sighed. Look, as long as you serve us loyally and help us get what we want, we're not gonna hurt you. Plus, you'll get everything you've dreamt of and more. Now sit down. She gestured at the senator to sit down as he took a few seconds of time before sliding the chair towards him and seating himself. Back to my question. Tell me about Senator Viridius? Senator Viridius is the head of the military. He was a Spartan captain until he was elected by the people. What's his connection with Hyrieus? Gaia noticed the surprised look in his eyes when she asked him about Hyrieus. General Hyrieus? Yes, General Hyrieus is Senator Viridius' soon-to-be son-in-law. He came to Gisel to make sure his wedding's preparations are going well. This time Gaia was surprised because when Michael interrogated him, he said he came to Gisel to investigate the slave rebellion and watch the gladiator fight in the arena. Funny, Hyrieus said he came to investigate the slave rebellion and have fun watching the gladiators fight. The gladiator fight is a part of their wedding ceremony. The slave rebellion, it was more of his hobby. It's his. His voice trailed off because of the sudden realization he had. His what? Hobby pleasure? Senator Caius couldn't see the snicker behind her mask. He knew she was right because he too heard rumors about Hyrieus, disturbing rumors. If anyone else, Senator Caius would have kept his mouth shut. However, to her or Lucifer, he would rather tell everything he knew than keep his mouth shut when being asked a question. Both. I heard rumors about General Hyrieus buying slaves. And the slaves are never to be seen after that. Gaia finished Caius' sentence. Is it true that Viridius leading the operation to catch the rebels? Caius frowned, recalling the conversation he had with Viridius several weeks ago when they met at a gala. When we met, he said he has someone else taking the charge. That someone else was Hyrieus and Viridius is running the thing behind the curtains. By looking at Caius' expression, she could tell Caius was telling the truth. Anyways, we have a golden opportunity for you, Caius. In the middle of the night, Michael appeared inside Caius' room where Gaia was still waiting for him. In addition to Gaia, Maxine was standing behind Gaia's chair like a good bodyguard. Those who were in the Order of Death were extremely loyal to the Dark Lord despite the fact that the Dark Lord didn't even exist in their timeline. They worshipped the Dark Lord as their god. Those who escaped the Guardians still worshipped him in secret and passed their beliefs to their descendants. They did their best to make sure their descendants would find the Dark Lord eventually and serve him as they would have. Luckily for Michael, Maxine was just as loyal as her ancestors who served the Order. Therefore, when Michael told Maxine that Gaia will be his wife, Maxine's loyalty towards Gaia skyrocketed, because if Dark Lord is her god, the woman he marries would become her goddess. Heimberg went to take care of his part of the plan, which is to make sure all the senators show up to enjoy the gladiator fight. Lot was riding on the upcoming gladiator fight where the entire fate of Giselle would change. Lord Lucifer, Maxine went to her knees almost immediately when she saw him appear in the room out of the thin air. You can stand up and tell me you've done what I asked. Michael waved his hand as the replica of his skull and bones thrown in the abyssal appeared before him. He sat facing Gaia on the senator's chair. It's done, Lord Lucifer. Good, as he said. Michael turned his eyes towards the corner of the room where there was nothing, only darkness. However, there was something in the darkness, a living person. Maxine noticed his look as she walked towards the dark corner to retrieve the package. Come on, Darkling. Michael saw Maxine dragging out a man from the dark corner. Time to wake up, Plap. Maxine slapped the man to wake him up. Soon, the man's body began to wiggle as he woke up. Nonetheless, the man could utter a word because there was a cloth wrapped around his mouth preventing him from screaming. This man was none other than General Hyrieus himself. The building Hyrieus entered was a local guard garrison. It was protected on the ground level, as well as kept archers to prevent anyone from entering the building from above. But the archers never expected to meet someone who could fly in the sky and rain arrows on them. It was as simple as walking through the front door after killing the archers. After entering the building, Everything happened so fast as Michael and Gaia killed Hirius guards, interrogated Hirius for a while before leaving the garrison with Hirius. "Lord Lucifer, you want me to take it off?" She pointed at the mouth wrapping around Hirius' mouth. "No need for now." "What did you find?" Gaia suddenly asked. "A potential recruit," Michael said, resting his head on his fist. Regardless of the upcoming important thing, he looked extremely calm. "Aren't we gonna recruit the whole camp?" "We are, but this one, he's something more." He could be something more. Michael had a smile on his face. After seeing that gladiator, he had a feeling that this gladiator could be his god of war. "Lucifer, we need a reality check before moving forward with our plan. There's a possibility that the gladiators wouldn't want to fight for us. The same goes for your potential recruit. Not for him. He's ill, wanting to relive his glory days, and looking for a better leader. If we can't recruit him, we can't recruit anyone." He then looked at Hirius as a cold smile emerged on his face. "Also, he's desperate to put an end to Hirius' reign. And we're gonna gift this pig to him." Hirius wiggled frantically while trying to scream, yet nothing but muffled cries escaped his mouth. "Knock him out." After hearing Gaia's order, Maxine knocked Hirius out with a swift punch to the side of his face. "Lord Lucifer, how long will it take for the gladiators to reach the arena and set up what they planned?" According to Hirius, they're traveling to Morin and then coming to Gisel in a merchant ship, hiding in crates. They would reach Gisel in 4 days, and Senator Viridius will be waiting for them with 100 Spartan soldiers. "They are walking into a perfect trap," said Gaia. "Maxine, you'll be assigned to Caius' personal maid. Stay by his side and make sure everything goes according to the plan." "I assume we are going back to the camp." Gaia stood up with Michael. He had already left a teleportation rune, so he could teleport back and forth. Considering this was nighttime, many in the camp were asleep, which made walking into the campsite less noticeable. Midnight came as perfect black, the true companion of every good night. The dark night was supposed to bring calmness to the soul, yet to Tiberius, the calmness, the cricket noises, as well as the cold breeze, only kindled the anger flame within him. Tiberius tried to vent his anger out on a tree, by punching it as hard as he could. Because of his condition, no matter how hard he tried to punch the tree, his weak muscles didn't give him the power he needed. He then took out the dagger from the waist, trying to slash the tree, but he barely scraped the tree. Although he couldn't clearly see the mark on the tree, he was able to see how shallow the cut was by feeling the bark. "Damn you! Pulch!" Tiberius couldn't control his anger anymore as he slashed his left arm with the dagger. The dagger was extremely sharp as it made a deeper cut in his arm than it did to the tree. The blood gushed out of the cut. His anger overcame the pain. Having it rough, Suddenly Tiberius heard a voice coming from the woods. He looked around to see nothing but darkness. He was standing here outside the campsite. This place was supposed to be empty. "Come out with a wounded arm," he shouted at the darkness. "I came bearing a gift for you, Tiberius." Tiberius saw a pair of red glows slowly approaching him from the darkness. Chapter 277. Tiberius ignored the blood gushing out of the wound in his hand. His eyes were fixed on the red glows approaching him slowly from the woods. Gradually Tiberius could make out a figure of a human with the help of little moonlight coming through the thick canopy above. "Hello, Tiberius." A small orb of light appeared in between them to light the surroundings. Tiberius was stunned by the light, as he had never seen a floating orb of light in his life before. The pair of red glows disappeared after the light appeared. Soon Tiberius saw another figure walking out of the darkness, dragging a man whose head was covered in black cloth. Both of the figures wore black skull masks to cover their faces. "Your gift." Before Tiberius could do or say anything, the second figure standing behind the tall figure kicked the man as he slid towards Tiberius. Tiberius cautiously looked between the figure wiggling at his feet and the two figures standing a couple of meters in front of him. He had so many questions running through his mind, pushing those questions to the corners of his mind. He slowly placed his hand on the black cloth to remove it. His blood flowed to the person's black cloth, drenching it. Go on. Michael knew about Tiberius' condition, so he patiently waited for him to take off the cloth from Hirius' head. Tiberius grabbed the cloth, removing it to see a bloodied, swollen face. Despite the face being bruised, bloodied, and swollen to the point that it's hard to recognize him, Tiberius was able to identify him. His body began to shiver the moment he saw the face. It was not because of his condition, it was because of the overwhelming anger burning inside him. 2 years ago, it was Hyrieus who stabbed Tiberius in the back, causing his muscles to lose strength with time. Besides, although Tiberius was not best friends with Titus and Optimus, he respected them as gladiators. Titus and Optimus both fought Tiberius before their 50th battle, that was supposed to earn them their freedom. Tiberius accepted the defeat like a champion because he was a soldier before becoming a gladiator. Hence he valued honor. What they did to Optimus and Titus was not honorable. It was that day Tiberius realized that there's no honor among nobles, and there's no difference between a gladiator and a slave. When he was a gladiator, he was drowned in women, glory, adrenaline rush, and attention. They kept him from realizing the state he was in, a slave, just like everyone else. In addition to Hyrieus, he was angry with himself for being so damn stupid. Hyrieus frantically struggled to escape, but his hands and legs were tied with ropes, making it easy for Tiberius to have his revenge. Tiberius kicked Hyrieus in the gut before getting on top of him with his dagger raised high. Looking at the dagger with eyes full of horror, Hyrieus began to struggle more and more frantically. He could see the killing intent in Tiberius' eyes, and tell what's about to happen. Tiberius let out a mad cry before going berserk on Hyrieus. He slashed Hyrieus as Hyrieus' muffled cries began to sound wilder and wilder. The blood gushed out of Hyrieus with each cut. Michael saw nothing but mad anger within Tiberius' eyes. Tiberius' condition made each cut shallower than he intended. Therefore, Hyrieus was put through the torture that slowly took his life. Tiberius saw Hyrieus' light of life gradually dimming in his eyes. Nonetheless, Tiberius' speed of slashing him didn't even slow a bit. Michael and Gaia patiently waited for Tiberius to finish without batting an eye. As far as they were concerned, Hyrieus deserved nothing less. After all, Hyrieus tortured and killed hundreds of slaves for fun and pleasure. After inflicting hundreds of cuts on Hyrieus, Tiberius was bathed in blood. "I thought I'll feel better," Tiberius said after spitting the blood that went into his mouth when slashing Hyrieus. "Who are you two freaks?" Tiberius turned his gaze towards Michael and Gaia. "We are building an army and we want you in it." "Humph," Tiberius snickered. "You may have not noticed, but I'm done being someone's bitch a long time ago." "You aren't one now?" Michael questioned him, aiming to kindle Tiberius' anger more. "I'm not going to stand here and give you a golden speech. Instead, I'll give you an option to regain everything you're desperate for. You don't know me." Tiberius gritted his teeth. "I know enough to know you're losing strength in your limbs." Tiberius was surprised as Michael continued. "You want to fight, but you know you can't anymore. Soon, you'll be of use to no one here and die dreaming of your golden days." "Well, freak, I appreciate your gift, I really do, but unless you have a miracle drug hiding in that armor of yours, you're wasting your time." Michael heard Gaia gritting her teeth. It was obvious she wanted to beat the hell out of Tiberius for calling him a freak. "Calm down," he whispered. "There is if you accept my offer for a few seconds." Tiberius' eyes went wide in shock. A small glimmer of excitement and hope emerged in his eyes, but it disappeared soon. Michael expected this reaction from him. According to Heimberg, there wasn't a cure for Tiberius' condition, at least not one in the southern continent. Since the healing potions had trace amounts of arch energy within them, and any arch energy would be absorbed by the dormant Hydra in the southern continent, the healing potion would be useless to Tiberius unless the healing potion brewed by Michael with a few adjustments from the system. "This is gonna sting." Before Tiberius could react, he felt a sting in his neck. "Fuck," he quickly slapped the neck where he felt a sting like swatting a mosquito to feel a needle sticking out of his neck. "How do you feel?" Tiberius clenched his fist. Playfully pinched Zanala's cheek. A short snort of laughter escaped his mouth in utter surprise and joy. He could feel the strength returning to his arms. "This is just a tip of what I can do, Tiberius. If you want to kill more sons of bitches like Hyrieus and live your dreams, this is your chance." Tiberius looked at Michael in a new light. "Time to make a decision, Tiberius." Tiberius was more surprised to hear a voice of a girl from the masked figure. "What you just gave me, is it permanent? When I'm sure you're loyal to me, I'll give you the permanent cure. But know this, I'm not forcing you, and one of my goals is to eradicate slavery, so you won't be a slave like you were before. What I'm giving you is a choice. Are you willing to be my soldier? Well, fuck it, the feeling of his strength returning was too much to let go of. He wanted the feeling to last forever. Besides, these figures brought Helios like he was nothing when Doctorus couldn't even get near the guy without being spotted by the Spartans. If you can give me this and assholes like him to kill, I do whatever you want. Peyton back at Peyton Manor. Zanali entered the room carrying a stack of parchments. Peyton was sitting on a white couch looking at the starry sky through the glass windows. Have they caught him? Peyton didn't even turn back to look at Zanali. She was drowned in the beauty of the star-filled sky. Not yet, and it's not him, it's her. What she said got Peyton's attention. A woman? How did you know? Zanali flicked her wrist as a vial with a few long strands of black hair in it. Our scholars found that these hairs we found on one of the L marks belonged to a woman. Zanali handed over the vial to Peyton. Why is a woman drawing L marks in various cities and villages? Zanali sat beside Peyton. It's either she's an ardent fan of Lucifer, or she has been leaving the marks in the hope of contacting Lucifer. Peyton has been scouring the continent to find Lucifer before he kills more people. She was becoming obsessed with him. In 5 days, the time limit Lucifer offered is coming to an end. The nobles were already in a panic because it was them who did the worst crimes and had reason to be afraid of him. What I don't know is, how is she able to escape our men who are supposed to be on guard? She's skilled enough to do that, which makes catching her difficult, but we're getting closer. In a way, this is an opportunity. Zanali smiled. Opportunity? Yes. If we know about Lucifer, whatever she's doing might have already gotten his attention, or will soon. We get her, track her, wait for him to show up, and we nail both of these criminal scums once and for all. Or, her smile grew wider. Or we leave our own marks. Lucifer will see them as calling cards, and she might see them as a reply from Lucifer. Either way, we'll catch one or both. Peyton nodded approvingly. Get it done. I want this fiasco to end before the tournament begins. And by the way, has Noah returned from his little trip? Peyton pinched Zanali's cheek in a playful manner as Zanali began to blush. He's still at the Rainbow Islands. Chapter 278. Right at the moment, Noah was standing on the edge of Angel's Peak, staring at the fishing village on the island. Stay focused, Noah. I can sense the Dark Lord's presence here. It's faint, but it's there. One would not see anyone else standing beside Noah. Yet someone talked to him. Only Noah could hear the voice. He looked at his ring finger to see the rusty metal ring glowing. We've been searching for this Dark Lord for 2 months, teacher. I think it's time for us to go home. We will, after finding the source of this mysterious power I've been sensing. If Michael was to hear the voice, he would have recognized it as none other than the Supreme Guardian himself. Michael met him when he was inside the treacherous ocean. The Supreme Guardian's soul living inside Noah's ring had no way of connecting with the soul fragment Michael met. Because of that, the Supreme Guardian didn't have any memory of meeting the Dark Lord. However, the Supreme Guardian possessed the ability to sense powerful energy radiation coming from any part of the world. This ability helped Noah find unique treasures of all kinds that helped him cultivate extremely faster than most people in the world. We should ask the mistress of this island about this power directly. I have a feeling that she needs the Witcher Stone to deal with this energy you've been sensing lately. Noah touched the chest pocket to make sure the stone is still there. He traveled to the hidden dwarven village to get this stone. Even the Supreme Guardian didn't know anything about the stone's use. Nonetheless, he told Noah that this stone holds powerful magic. Tread carefully, Noah. The island mistress mustn't know about our true intentions, as she might have already been tainted by the Dark Lord. Teacher, there are people in this world who can't be tainted no matter what. I believe Lady Alden is one of them. Noah had met the wielder of Angel Vina before when he visited the Azer continent. Although she seemed cold and distant, Noah could tell she's a nice person. It had been almost a year since he last saw her. Noah, a gentle voice called him from behind as he turned back to see Johanna walking towards him carrying her Vina. Miss Johanna, when can I meet Lady Alden? Despite the fact the 2 disciples prevented him from entering the cave, he wasn't mad at them as he knew they were doing what their master asked them to. Mistress would like to see you now. Follow me. Noah was genuinely surprised by her words. Finally, he could meet her after waiting for a week. The sooner he finds out the source of the power his teacher has been sensing, the better. Wonderful, Noah smiled at Johanna before following her into the cave. Glowing colorful crystals illuminated the cave beautifully. It didn't look like a cave but a lavish hall in Noah's eyes. Except for the calming water-flowing sound coming from somewhere inside the cave, he could hear nothing. The deeper Noah followed her into the cave, the thicker the arch energy he felt. After silently walking behind Johanna for a few long moments, he saw a stage erupted higher from the ground at the end of the cave. On top of the stage sat Layla with her eyes closed and Angel's Vina on her lap. Noah was mesmerized by her angelic beauty. Her beauty and grace even surpassed Alicia. Narita was cleaning her Vina sitting beside Layla. Because of the recent anomaly, Noah couldn't see any of their current cultivation levels. Nonetheless, he could guess either of the disciples could win a fight against him easily. Suddenly Layla opened her eyes as she sensed the Witcher stone residing inside Noah's pocket. Noah felt the Witcher stone vibrate. Her beautifully cold eyes scanned him from top to bottom. Although they met before, he saw her looking at him like they're just seeing each other. For a second, Layla thought she saw Ghost, the man who defiled her by spirit walking with her soul. Ever since that day, she was not what she used to be. Now she had responsibility, a responsibility that changed her life forever. Lady Alden, Noah approached the stage calmly with a gentle smile on her face. Layla felt her anger erupt inside as Noah reminded her of Ghost. Name your price for the stone. Since Noah reminded of Ghost, she was extra cold towards Noah. No price, Lady Alden. Take this as my thanks to you for helping me in Azair. I sense a powerful energy radiation near her. Noah heard his teacher's voice sound inside his head. The ring had a magical effect that connected both Noah and the Supreme Guardian telepathically. Hence, they could communicate using either words or telepathically, just like Michael and the system. You need to get closer to her. It's not going to be easy, teacher, Noah thought. Take this. Layla flicked her wrist as a rather plain-looking talisman appeared in her hand. Like a bolt of lightning, the talisman flew to Noah. The talisman can be activated 3 times. Each time you activate it, the talisman will protect you for 5 minutes from any spells cast by anyone on or under the soul refining stage. Standing beside Noah, Johanna explained the use of the talisman to Noah. He was taken aback by surprise. This sounded like a legendary talisman, yet she gave it to him like it was nothing. With this talisman, one could challenge a soul refiner and live to tell the tale, or sell it on any auction house and live the rest of the life like a king. Now the stone, please, Johanna asked, placing the talisman in Noah's right hand. Her voice sounded like ordering rather than asking. Noah needed to think quickly before they threw him out of the cave. The Witcher stone must transferred ownership. Master Cratch transferred ownership to me, and if Lady Alden wants to use the stone, I need to transfer ownership to her, Noah lied, hoping none of them could call it a bluff. Considering the dwarves or even his teacher didn't know anything about the stone, he gambled that they would be as clueless as everyone else. Layla stared at Noah with perplexed eyes. You can do whatever you want from where you are. After what happened with Michael, Layla never let a man get close to her. Since Noah was somewhat reminded of Ghost, she wanted out of her cave as soon as possible. Forgive me, Lady Layla, but it cannot be done from here. Noah sighed, a heave of relief inside seeing that she didn't see through his lies. Make her believe, Noah, make her believe. His teacher's voice sounded again inside his head. If anyone who isn't the owner touches the stone, it would crumble into dust. Layla clenched her wrist as she drew a long breath. I need that stone for my child, Layla thought. Her heartbeat started to rise higher and higher. Come, Johanna nodded after hearing Layla. The 2 disciples had no idea what happened inside the treacherous ocean, or what she's been hiding from them. Apart from Layla, only her teacher knew about her secret, and he was the one who told her about the Witcher stone. I cannot keep this facade for longer, teacher. Noah hid the unease in his heart from showing on his face. You don't have to. The moment you get close enough, I can find the source. I have a feeling that this source might give us some answers on how to defeat the Dark Lord. There were no steps to reach the top of the stage. When Noah was about to leap, Johanna grabbed his hand before leaping onto the stage. Layla remained still as before, but Noah noticed her hands slightly shiver as he walked towards her. Little bit closer, the Supreme Guardian said. Both Noah's and Layla's hearts pounded against their chest. Noah was anxious about lying to one of the most powerful entities in the continent, while Layla was anxious about starting the ritual that would keep her child alive until she finds a way to deal with Ghost. You can now start the transfer, Noah nodded as he sat on the ground half a meter away from her, facing her directly. Both of them avoided looking into each other's eyes. Layla had a traumatizing experience with a man before, so she felt extremely uncomfortable sitting in front of Noah. Noah slowly took the Witcher stone from his pocket. The stone looked like a ruby, radiating a faint red light from within. He placed the stone on the ground between them. Close your eyes. Noah waited for Layla to close her eyes. She seemed reluctant at first, but she ultimately closed her eyes after a while. Teacher, Noah urged his teacher to hurry. The two disciples were watching them, so he needed to finish his drama as quickly as possible before they started to doubt him. The energy source, it's inside her. Sorry guys, I was so focused on doing things I don't love and missed doing what I love the most. It took me a while to find the strength needed to follow my passion instead of doing what others ask of me. I quit my internship and decided to become a full-time writer. So good news, expect 2 to 3 chapters a day from November. And I hope you guys stick with me and continue to support my work. Note: no, this is not going to be yet another MC has a child with another woman, takes her into harem, or do stupid things for his child. In fact, this is not a typical child as you may think. Wait till you hear the full story before going berserk on me. Chapter 279. Having no idea of what's happening in the Rainbow Islands, Michael was lying on Gaia's lap in the captain's cabin as she ran her fingers through his hair. The Hydra was peacefully sleeping on his chest after a hearty meal. The captain's cabin now looked completely different than before. His crew scrubbed every inch of the cabin spotless before placing the new sofas, chairs, beds, and beautiful candle stands made of pure silver around the room. Not only the captain's cabin, but the entire ship was scrubbed spotless. They placed the rum barrels in the storage room rather than keeping them wherever they pleased. Still, Michael needed to buy them new beds, repair the cannons and the hull, as well as buy them new weapons. He was planning to do them before leaving back to Elon. In addition to the time limit he gave to the scumbags, the championship tournaments were about to start in 5 days. Thanks to his runic teleportation function, he could travel between the 2 continents instantly rather than spending months traveling. I've been wanting to ask you something, Michael asked. What is it? You know, when I said I'm going to reveal myself at the arena, I'm reconsidering it. At first, Michael wanted to reveal his Lucifer persona to the world. The fact that he could use arch energy would have made him earn a load of badass points without a doubt. However, after giving it a deep thought, he started to have second thoughts. I assume you have a good reason for having second thoughts. She didn't look surprised. On the contrary, she seemed like she was expecting this. If we were to reveal ourselves, we might become the #1 target of the whole world. If they waged war on Giselle to capture us, we cannot fight them all with the little time we have to use the arch energy. Besides, we don't have an army as we planned yet. And Giselle would automatically become the target of others, and everyone will know that Caius is our man. As Michael paused, Gaia went on. Why didn't you say anything before? She spoke his mind, yet he wondered why she didn't advise him against revealing themselves before. Because I trust you. I learned that no matter what you do, you always have a reason behind it. Not to mention you will end up getting your ass kicked if you reveal yourself too soon. Suddenly he heard the system mock him inside his mind. He was surprised to the point he entered the system interface to talk to the system. Well, look who's showing up to the party. Don't worry. I'll talk when I want to stop you from doing reckless things. Revealing your power to the Southerners, for an instance. And here I'm thinking you want me to show off, earn badass points, and spend buying something from the store. You're no good to me, dead host. Revealing yourself at the arena would put a target on you. A target every godlike existence in this world would hunt you down. Why didn't you say so before? The system became more and more intelligent and less robotic after he upgraded the system to version 3. Michael had a feeling that it would become more talkative. Also, the system now mostly addressed itself using the word I and me instead of the system. I was looking to know your decision. Face it, host, you were an assassin who had one simple job: kill people. Now you're on a path to conquer this world and rule it from the shadows. It's not your domain, you'll make mistakes. Besides, ruling the world from the shadows is more badass than becoming an emperor. Upgrade me so I can be more help. There it is. For a moment, I thought you genuinely want to help me, not rob me. Michael laughed as the system went silent. He exited the system's interface after a few moments. So let's change our plan. Instead of showing up to burn those fuckers, we'll let the rebels finish their job safely. Then we'll make sure they reach our ship unseen. And get the hell out of Jysel. Gaia suggested a new plan. Initially, they planned to personally go to the arena, kill Viridius' men and save the rebels. Now the plan had changed. Michael decided to let Tiberius, Heimberg, and Maxine deal with Viridius' men. Has Heimberg placed the spiders around the arena yet? Michael asked Gaia. It was Heimberg's task to survey the arena and place the spiders around as well as below the arena, so Michael could watch everything happening at the arena without being there. According to Hirius, the rebels were planning to place explosives beneath the arena where the explosives would do maximum damage. Yeah, the spiders are in the place. But he couldn't find where Viridius was staying. His daughter's wedding is in 2 days, yet that asshole is playing hide and seek. He's definitely planning something. Tell him to keep searching. I want all the senators on the same stage or our plan won't work. Michael looked serious. Getting all the senators in one place was a crucial part of his master plan to conquer Jysel. If everything went according to his plan, the kingdom of Jysel would be his when returns to Elon. Meanwhile, in the sewers of Lanercost, a group of men wearing dark robes and hoods was walking through the muddy water. 4 of the men were carrying a large crate while 2 men walked forward, carrying torches to light their path. Their faces could not be seen through the dark hoods they were wearing. Regardless of their robes, one could tell that these men had sturdy muscular bodies. Looking at their broad shoulders and big biceps. Are we near Doctorus? One of the men carrying the crate asked. They were the chosen gladiators who came to Lanercost to destroy the arena along with slave traders, nobles as well as Lannistas. Yes, Doctorus said with his thick accent. This place stinks to high heaven. The gladiators twitched their noses because of the overwhelming stink coming from the drainage water running on the ground. In addition to the stink, the rats stared at them from the dark corners with their glowing eyes. Most of them would be glad not to hear the rats squeak as they move forward. If I'm right, we're very close to the arena. Mark, the gladiator who knocked down Tiberius, said while carrying the torch. The arena above them resembled the Colosseum on Earth. It could hold at least 45,000 spectators. Where people sat in the arena was determined by the Senate. The best seats were reserved for the senators. Behind them were the nobles, scholars, and ranking army officers respectively. A bit higher up sat the ordinary citizens and the soldiers. Since Viridius didn't want peasants to attend the wedding ceremony, he raised the ticket price to enter the arena by several folds. Although none of the commoners could afford to buy the ticket, it was not a big deal for the nobles. Hence, Viridius earned a hefty sum in ticket sales while preventing the commoners from attending the wedding. 2 birds in 1 stone. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but I wonder why didn't the senators put a single guard in this place? Another gladiator who was carrying the crate asked in a husky voice. Because the nobles or the senators don't know about the passage running under the arena. The scholars lost the blueprints and the maps in a fire several decades ago, Mark explained. When I was a little child, the soldiers managed to close many entrances to the sewage system, but not all of them. My grandfather was one of the few people who knew about these passages, Doctorus said. Then you knew about this passage all these years. So why didn't you try to escape? All the gladiators looked at Doctorus after that question. Perhaps I didn't want to escape, or perhaps I liked kicking your sorry asses. Look at that, Doctorus is being funny. The other gladiators laughed, forgetting the pressure of this mission for a few moments. Although everyone knew that this is a suicide mission, none of them admitted out loudly. After detonating the explosives, they knew they would die in the blast along with the senators and the nobles above them. They were doing this to light the fire of freedom in all the slaves, including the gladiators. If everything went according to their plan, this day would be a huge blow to all the senators who encouraged slavery. After a few minutes of walking, the narrow sewage tunnel expanded in front of them. They were standing at the entrance of a huge space. In the light of the torches, they could see numerous beams in front of them supporting the arena above them. The gladiators were directly under the arena. Doctors could see several entrances with doors made of rusty iron bars. They led to the various places in the arena, as if they wanted to get to the spectators' area. They could use the ladders to climb up. But Doctorus really doubted that the ladders would be still there in one piece after all these years without maintenance. Let's get to work, gladiators, that you're tuning in to the Lee May's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.